पोलिंग को जिसको हम सुदृढ़ करते हैं, उसी क्रम में हमको जानकारी प्राप्त हुई थी कि इस प्रकार के प्रशिक्षण शिविर ऑर्गेनाइज किया जा रहा है। और उसी के क्रम में जब रेड किया गया तो हम लोगों को ऐसे डॉक्यूमेंट्स मिले जो कि भारत की संप्रभुता और अखंडता के विरुद्ध भी उसमें कुछ टिप्पणियां थी।
Well, the recent developments have sent ripples across intelligence agencies, and NI has also been roped in to probe the matter. This is not the first time that Modi was on the radar. Earlier during 2013, there was a blast at the venue of Prime Minister's rally in Patna at Gandhi Maidan. The developments in Bihar have given rise to a political storm over alleged link of PFI with the accused.
हम एक सेकुलर स्टेट हैं और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में परिभाषित है, लिहाजा कोई भी संगठन, कोई भी समूह इसकी ना डेमोग्राफी चेंज कर सकता है और ना संसद की शब्दावली कर सकता है। लेकिन कुछ अतिवादी संगठन देश में पुनः सक्रिय हुए हैं जो चिंता का विषय है। हमारी खुफिया एजेंसी उस पर नज़र रखे हुए है और हमें उम्मीद है कि ऐसे जो अतिवादी संगठन हैं उनको कमज़ोर करने में, समाप्त करने में हमारी सेना, हमारी पुलिस सक्षम है।
सर, क्या मामला है?
मामला है कि ये अहमद पैलेस है और अहमद पैलेस से दो आदमी को उठा कर ले गए हैं। एक तो किराएदार है और किराएदार के बारे में हम नहीं जानते क्या गतिविधि में है, लेकिन मैं मकान मालिक के बारे में दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि ईमानदार पुलिस फोर्स पदाधिकारी रहे हैं। बात बताइए, जो थानेदार साहब हैं जलालुद्दीन, उनके बारे में बात ये सामने आ रही है कि वो ट्रेनिंग देने का काम करते थे और वेपन्स की ट्रेनिंग दी गई है यहाँ मार्शल आर्ट। बजाबते देखिए पारदर्शी है, कितना ट्रेनिंग होगा नहीं होगी तो मैं नहीं, आप खुद देख लीजिए। जब ट्रेनिंग चलेगा तो यहाँ पर हजारों की भीड़ लगी रहेगी कि नहीं, बजाबते साइलेंटली रहेगा। बल्कि मैं कह रहा हूं कि उत्तर प्रदेश के तर्ज पर हल्द्वानी शरीफ को बदनाम करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। जलाल साहब अगर अपराधी हैं तो साक्ष्य प्रस्तुत करे, अन्यथा गोपाल रविदास यहाँ व्यापक जनता के लेकर रोड पर उतरेगा और चाहे लाठी चले, गोली चले, हम उसकी पूरी तरह से शामिल हैं।
However, the PFI has alleged that it is a conspiracy to demonize the organization, which is democratic and law-abiding.
This happened yesterday. Yesterday, they arrested two people claiming them to be Popular Front members, but we would like to make it clear, and we have also issued a stand that both of them who have been arrested are not Popular Front members. Secondly, we saw that the police came up with one press release, a press statement. In that press conference, he read out a document calling something called as India 20, some plan to make India an Islamic country. Actually, if you see, the same document first came up in UP in 2020. If the same document attached in the charge sheet of UP and the same document is now coming to the UP police, that means the author of the document is not Popular Front. Popular Front did not publish that document, but that document is somewhere published by somewhere in UP or the higher ups, and it is being transmission to every other states.
All right, let's open this up and let's go across to our guests. We're joined by Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author. We also have on panel author RSN Singh, Advocate Talha Amir Rashidi, spokesperson of the Rashtriya Ulema Council, joins us on the broadcast. We have Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, and Syed Hassanul Haq, advocate and political analyst as well. Good evening to all of you. I first want to come to you, Advocate Rashidi. Once again, the PFI is under the scanner. And as the SSP of Patna said, they were going through various inputs. That's when they started following the case. Two people were arrested and shocking documents were revealed. A 4-stage, step-by-step guide to establish Islamic rule in India by 2047, nefarious designs and plots to create unrest during the Prime Minister's rally. Why shouldn't an action be taken against this organization? Why shouldn't it be banned?
Ma'am, I'm not a spokesperson of PFI or SDPI, so I cannot defend them. And that would be defended by their spokesperson. But as a rational and an awake citizen of the country, I just want to put forward this point of view that when Bajrang Dal, VHP and other hundreds of such outfits demand a Hindu Rashtra, they openly organize khap panchayats and rallies and yatras, and they demand Hindu Rashtra. No action is being taken against them. No FIRs are filed, no sensationalization of this media trial is being done of them. Then why only such a hue and cry is being created if some organizations are demanding Islamic nation? Although I, as an Indian citizen, I completely disagree with this. I condemn this because India would be ruled by its constitution. India is a democratic country, and we are citizens of this country, and we ought to follow the constitution, and we ought to keep the constitution as supreme. But this biased action, when RSS, when Bajrang Dal, when Hindu Yuva Wahini, when Hindu Parishad demands a Hindu nation, there is no hue and cry, there is no this sensationalization by the media. But when something comes out in the name of PFI and SDPI and other such Islamic organizations, there's all this, this crying and this shouting and this screaming all around. Why this, selective outrage?
Okay.
The outrage should be equal for everyone.
You're saying selective outrage. Tell me something, Advocate Rashidi. Are you okay with the fact that PFI today, in the document allegedly, says that we need to mobilize people, we need to unite Muslims under the flag of PFI, we need to remind them continuously of the atrocities committed, and if there are no grievances, we need to establish grievances there. We need to take help from other countries. It talks about funding from other countries. And the agenda is to establish Islamic State in 2047. Are you justifying that?
No, not at all. I condemn it. I condemn it in harshest of the words,
then
and
what
I
stops you from
demand
saying
an
that
action.
yes, an action
But at the
needs to be
same
taken?
time, I demand equal action against the BHP,
Absolutely.
against the Bajrang Dal, against
Absolutely.
such
Go
outputs,
ahead.
and I would demand
Absolutely. Go ahead and
that
demand.
you should raise the same question also.
Go ahead and demand. Go ahead and demand equal action. I want to bring in GBL.
And let me add one more thing. The Patna SSP today also said that these people were training youths in the same way as the RSS runs its Chakha. Now the Patna SSP in himself says that he is comparing the PFI with RSS. So the action should be taken against both of them.
Mr.
The Shakhas should be banned.
GBL Narasimha Rao.
If you are asking for action, that should be equal.
GBL Narasimha Rao.
I think this is the same fake equivalence that we see coming from members of the Muslim community, always trying to really not address the real problem. India has always been a Hindu Rashtra, not by constitution, but India has been a Hindu-dominant nation. That's something that you cannot deny. So when somebody says Hindu Rashtra, we as a government don't subscribe to that view, but India, it doesn't shock people because India...
No, don't interrupt, sir, please.
What is the population of, if somebody says we want to make India a Muslim Islamic nation, it shocks people. It surprises them. Because what is the population of Muslims in this country? How can you make it a Muslim majority country by 2047 unless you butcher millions of Hindus, which is what some of your community members talk about. So therefore, you cannot draw this fake equivalence. Number one, we are a country that will be governed by constitution, and therefore when members of PFI or any such organization make such shocking charges, I expect Muslim community, members of the Muslim community, many of them educated and subscribe to the constitutionality, they should at least condemn them and not draw unwarranted fake equivalence.
Okay. Unwarranted fake equivalence, says GVL Narasimha Rao. Tehseen Poonawala, your comment, and as an individual part of the community, does that not anger you, outrage you, that there's a 4-stage step-by-step guide which says that we need to exploit Muslim community members, we need to acquire lands in areas that are Muslim dominated so that we can set up our own training facility, we need to identify individuals, we need to impart training. It talks about weapons training, handling of explosives.
Namaskar Swati, thank you so much for having me on the show. Namaskar to all my fellow panelists and to all your viewers. Two or three things that I want to bring, but at the onset, let us wish Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji a very long life and a very healthy life. Like I said, we have to defeat him. We will defeat him, but that will be politically. Let's never wish ill for anybody. But here's my problem, and here's the crux of the issue, and this is what I firmly believe. The PFI works in tandem with the Bharatiya Janata Party and the RSS. It's a part of the organization, and please bear me out and hear me out, because every single time that the Bharatiya Janata Party is in trouble, for example, today the rupees crashed to 80 versus the dollar, you have a PFI story coming out, and the PFI is a very dangerous organization. I accept that. But why isn't this government of the Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Home Minister, the two most powerful men allegedly in the world, banning this organization? In fact, the Home Minister of Karnataka from the BJP goes on to record and says, we have no plans to ban the PFI. At least ban SDPI accounts, at least go to Election Commission and stop SDPI from contesting elections.
Will all the political parties support the government if that decision were to be taken, Tehseen Poonawalla, of a national ban?
Please.
Do you think all the political parties will come together, stand with the government and say, yes, ban this organization for its nefarious designs?
It doesn't matter. It's an executive decision to be taken. Whether somebody opposes or doesn't oppose, it's an executive decision to be taken.
Why it matters is because the Congress party has been accused of going soft on PFI.
Please may I make my point, because it's very important.
No, I'm just asking you a follow-up question. You're saying it does not matter because it's an executive decision.
But the Home Minister of
political parties in the past...
I accept it, but please.
Yes,
I'm answering your
question,
ma'am. I'm answering your question.
Yes.
Ma'am, please allow me to answer. Yes. I accept your point with humility. I am saying the Congress is wrong, it's evil, the Congress should be thrown out, the Congress is an irrelevant party, all the bad things for the Congress. But who's in power for the last 8 years? Is it the Congress or the BJP? In Karnataka, the Home Minister from the BJP says we don't want to ban PFI.
When it was the Congress rule in Karnataka,
said we will look at what can be done. That's been 3 months, times now is different.
But when Congress party was in power in
that doesn't matter. I'm talking about right now. The Home Minister does not want to ban it.
So that's fine. But
if the matter is now in Supreme Court, and the Attorney General representing the government. No, it's not. I am saying PFI should be banned.
Okay.
I am saying the BJP is hand in glove with them. Otherwise,
BJP
the
is hand in gloves with
now
them.
3 months ago in Supreme Court, the matter has been subjugated.
Why are you not taking the decision of banning this organization on the national level? Because even the NI has said that this organization is a threat to national security. And Tehseen Poonawalla is saying that you are benefiting out of their divisive agenda. They are in fact hand in gloves with your party, with BJP.
I think it's a very comical argument, I would say.
I have one more point to make to the MP. Please allow me to
I will come back to you. We'll have another round of arguments. I'll come back to you.
It's the charge.
Yes, no, but I have a very important point.
I'll come back to you,
That's the most important
Some
point.
of the guests haven't even spoken yet. I'll come back to you.
The charge that has been made is completely baseless, because it is the Congress party which has been in alliance with the PFI, the political arm of the PFI, the SDPI in Karnataka. They actually had seat adjustments with them in local body polls. They were actually, Siddaramaiah wanted to have a political alliance with them in Karnataka assembly polls. And the kind of violence that they unleashed, the action against the PFI has been taken by the BJP government. What did the Congress governments do? Be it in Karnataka, or be it in Rajasthan or Maharashtra, where you were in power. Why did the Congress not act against them? The BJP government acted very firmly against the PFI in Uttar Pradesh, for instance.
But still no ban on the organization in terms of the demands that are coming in on a national level. If it is such a threat to national security, why isn't the government of India acting? That question remains. Tehseen, I'll come back to you, please. I want to bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Now, in this entire blame game of who's supporting whom, of who's going soft on PFI or on who's hand in gloves with PFI, I think we should not lose focus. The crux of the story is the document which has been accessed by the Bihar police when first 2 arrests were made. A 4-step guide of how the Islamic rule will be established by 2047 in India. And they've laid down rules for that. They've laid down procedures, guidelines for that as to how it is going to be done. They want maximum number of people to be associated with PFI, to be recruited with PFI. And if not, if that is not possible, they want at least people to read their views on social media, through magazines, through newsletters. They want mass mobilization. They want to impart them weapons training and also seek help from friendly Islamic countries.
Yeah, good evening, Swati, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. I've been waiting and listening very patiently for about 20 minutes now, so can I please request 2 minutes of uninterrupted time? Thank you very much. You are absolutely right, Swati. Look, the so-called PFI India Vision 2047 document is not so much a terror manual as it is a declaration of Islamic jihad against India. Let us be very plain about it. But the thing is, it doesn't surprise me. From Sir Syed to Iqbal to Jinnah to Jalaluddin now, we have to understand the psyche. Ambedkar understood it really well as he reiterated that as far as Islam is concerned, the world is divided into two regions, Dar al-Harb and Dar al-Islam. And the Muslims cannot rest until Dar al-Harb is converted into Dar al-Islam, unquote. A country which is ruled by a kafir, said Dr. Ambedkar, is Dar al-Harb to a Musliman. The basic feelings of deference and sympathy which predispose persons to obey the authority of government do not simply exist, unquote. These Islamists are out to prove Dr. Ambedkar right. There is documented proof, Swati, that the PFI is an organization neck deep in acts of terror, bomb making, training camps, political murders, links with Al-Qaeda and Islamic fundamentalism. It came into prominence after Simi was banned. Many PFI leaders are actually ex-Simi. This is not me saying it, but the Kerala police and the High Court. Let me give you just one example of PFI's criminal antecedents. On July 4, 2010, PFI activists chopped off the hand of a teacher named Joseph for allegedly framing a question paper that insulted Muhammad. The irony was, the Joseph had meant not Prophet Muhammad, but Kunju Muhammad, the man on whose book he had framed his question. Joseph was sacked from his job. Joseph's wife committed suicide. In 2015, 13 PFI activists were convicted by the court for this crime. Hundreds of PFI leaders and activists have been charged under the UAPA, all under the Congress and the Communists. But the moment the BJP comes to power, the former start supporting such organizations, play the victim card, hum khatre mein hain, chirag bujhane ki koshish hai, dara hua Musalman, etc. And at the same time, support such organizations that want to break up India. Remember in January 2020, just 30 seconds, Bangalore police arrested 6 SDPI men for mere 10,000 each. They plotted to kill the young BJP MP Tejasvi Surya because of his pro-CA stand. They actually came to kill him at a rally, but couldn't. So nearly killed an RSS worker instead. But then again, just 10 seconds. More than the PFI, Swati, it is the government that needs to answer as to why the Modi government hasn't banned PFI for 8 years is as deep a mystery as the Bermuda Triangle.
Very important point. 2 points that you made, and that raises 2 questions. One, to Syed Hasanul Haq, and the second one is to Mr. Rao. I'll come to you, Mr. Rao. I want to take a quick comment from Syed Hasanul Haq. How can any organization that talks about working for the rights of a particular community, in this case PFI, working for the rights of the minorities and upliftment of the minorities, in a document which the Bihar police says was accessed by individuals affiliated to PFI, talk about establishing grievances when there are none, talks about taking support of 10% of Muslims, even if 10% of Muslims are with them, that's what the document says, they would be able to overthrow the coward majority. How can an organization that talks about upliftment of a community further push them into darkness and, give them weapons training, train them to handle explosives? Why would you want to ruin their futures?
First of all, I would like to thank now for inviting me. मुद्दे की बात ये है मैम कि आज MS झिल्लोक SSP पटना ने कहा ये जो RSS की तरह जो RSS ट्रेनिंग देती है जिस तरीके से कराटे की, तलवारबाजी की, हथियार चलाने की, उसी तर्ज पे PFI ये ट्रेनिंग दे रही थी लोगों को। तो PFI के लोग जो अरेस्ट हुए वहां, जो लोग अरेस्ट हुए हैं उन पे एक सख्त कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। PFI अगर इस तरीके की चीजें कर रहा है, ये पॉसिबल नहीं है कि 2047 में इस्लामिक कंट्री हो जाए, ये कभी क्लेम नहीं है। कोई इंडिया का मुसलमान इस तरीके की बातें नहीं करता। अगर ये पीएफआई की तरफ से है, अगर पीएफआई ऐसा कह रही है तो बैन होना चाहिए। और इसी मानसिकता के साथ आरएसएस भी चल रही है। आरएसएस को भी बैन करने की जरूरत है। दोनों इक्वली है, एक तरीके से एक बूट के दो दाल जिसको कहते हैं, वही काम हो रहा है यहाँ पे इस पे। आप ये कह रहे थे बीच में आनंद जी बैठे हुए थे, उन्होंने सर सैयद के बारे में कहा अपमानजनक भाषा। तो ये बताइए 1930 में किसने गोल्ड मेडल सम्मेलन का किया बुलाया? बिना वजह की बातें ना क्या करे सर सैयद के बारे में। सर सैयद जो हिंदुस्तान के
सर हसनुल एक फर्क है इक्वेट करने में और कंपेयर करने में। उन्होंने ये कहा कि आरएसएस जिस तरह से ट्रेन करता है उसी तर्ज पर पीएफआई भी ट्रेन कर रहा है। पीएफआई ट्रेन क्यों कर रहा है उसका एक मोटिव इस डॉक्यूमेंट में सामने आ रहा है, जिसमें वो ये कह रहे हैं कि हमको 2047 तक इस्लामिक राज्य की स्थापना करनी है, जिसके लिए हमको लोगों को आइडेंटिफाई करना है, जिसके लिए हमें उन्हें वेपन्स ट्रेनिंग देनी। और एक और बात इसमें यह भी कहा गया है कि आरएसएस और हिंदू लीडर्स जो हैं उनके बारे में पर्सनल डिटेल्स हासिल कीजिए और उसका एक डेटाबेस बनाइए ताकि आगे चलकर उनकी एट्रोसिटीज के खिलाफ रिस्पॉन्ड करने में आपकी पूरी तैयारी रहेगी। तो अगर वो उसी की तरह चल रहा है, उसी की मानसिकता है, तो फिर आरएसएस का डेटाबेस क्यों जमा कर रहे हैं? दूसरी बात, आई वांट टू ब्रिंग इन आरएसएन सिंह नाउ। आरएसएन सिंह, एंड आई एम श्योर यू वुड से
आतंकवादी संगठन, एक आतंकवादी संगठन दूसरे आतंकवादी का
डिक्लेयर हो गया। आरएसएस डिक्लेयर हो गया आतंकवादी संगठन। आरएसएस को डिक्लेयर कर दिया गया है क्या आतंकवादी संगठन? नहीं, आतंकवादी संगठन डिक्लेयर हो गया। कोई टूल किट उनका भी अगर आ गया है सामने तो प्लीज उनका भी कोई टूल किट अगर आ गया है जहां आरएसएस कह रहा है कि लोगों को ट्रेनिंग दीजिए और हिंदू राष्ट्र बनाइए। इस डॉक्यूमेंट में ये कहा गया है, जरूर इस डॉक्यूमेंट में ये भी कहा गया है, मेक मुस्लिम्स बिलीव दैट आरएसएस लेड गवर्नमेंट will drive them out of the country and will make India a Hindu राष्ट्र। make Muslims believe। उनको आप ये मनवाइए, उनको बार बार याद दिलाइए कि आपके ऊपर कितने जुल्मों सितम हुए हैं। And I want to bring in RSN Singh because he is familiar with this pattern and RSN Singh will not be surprised when we talk about Ghazwa-e-Hind. This time around there's a document that the Bihar police has accessed in which it talks about the various steps in order to achieve that, RSN Singh.
नहीं, क्योंकि पहले वक्ता ने हिंदी में कहा था हमारी मातृभाषा में, तो मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में शुरू करूंगा। और मैं इनसे, मेरी ये समझ है कि जब पाकिस्तान बना तो ये जितने कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं, शरीयत, उम्मा, कैलिफेट, गज़वाए हिंद, जिहाद, ये सब पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा बन गए। आप संविधान की दुहाई दे रहे हैं, तो क्या संविधान गज़वाए हिंद परमिट करता है? क्या संविधान उम्मा के कंसेप्ट को परमिट करता है? बाकी जो ये जो ब्लास्फेमी के आजकल चल रही है, क्या संविधान वो परमिट करता है? जो चीन में हो रहा है उस पर भी टिप्पणी कर दें। और ये जो दो महानुभाव जो बैठे हुए हैं, मुझे यकीन है कि आज ये ज़रूर बोलेंगे कि गज़वाए हिंद एक बहुत बड़ा पाप लिखा हुआ है। ये कैलिफेट का जो है, कैलिफेट मूवमेंट, खिलाफत मूवमेंट से ही पाकिस्तान बना। और हम खिलाफत मूवमेंट,
आपकी बात सुन रहे थे,
हम खिलाफत की भर्त्सना करते हैं। और ये भी आप जरूर बोलेंगे कि दारुल हर्ब और दारुल इस्लाम की बात करना इस देश में हराम है। चौथी बात, आप कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन की दुहाई कर दे रहे हैं, तो मैं एक आप कह दीजिए कि हिंदुस्तान में जितनी मजहबें हैं वो सब सामान्य हैं और सब उतने ही इज्जत के हकदार हैं।
बिल्कुल,
सब उतने ही इज्जत के हकदार हैं। आप ये भी जरूर बोलिएगा कि ये काफिर शब्द जो है ये भी हमारे संविधान के अनुसार हराम है। ठीक है, तो ये 4-5 चीजें बोल दीजिए। दूसरी बात मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगा कि ये जो देवबंदी, ये जैश ए मोहम्मद साहब, ये कौन सा संगठन है? देवबंदी है ना? ये लश्कर तोयबा क्या है? अहले हदीस है ना? ये सर तन से जुदा तो बोलते हो, ये क्या है? बरेलवी है ना? ये सब का सब हिंदुस्तान में है ना सर? तो हम यहाँ से आइडियोलॉजी भेजते हैं और वहां से वो वेपनाइज, ये तीनों की आज आप भर्त्सना कीजिए और कहिए कि ये देवबंदी, बरेलवी और अहले हदीस ये सब हराम है।
मिस्टर रशीदी एंड मिस्टर हक वो शुरुआत में कंडेम कर चुके हैं इस बात को।
हम हिंदुस्तानी
नहीं, इस बात को बोलना जरूरी नहीं, इस बात को बोलना जरूरी है, इस बात को बोलना जरूरी, जेंटलमैन वन सेकंड, इस बात को बोलना जरूरी है कि एडवोकेट रशीदी और सैयद हक दोनों कह चुके हैं कि अगर पीएफआई का ये एजेंडा है तो ये गलत है। टू बी फेयर, ताकि शोरगुल में उनकी आवाज ना दब जाए, इसीलिए मैं इस बात को रिपीट कर रही हूँ। GVL Narasimha Rao, PFI has said that these are fabricated charges. This is only to malign the organization. Respond to that.
Is there anything to malign? This all matters. PFI's activities, the PFI's ideology, PFI's anti-India propaganda, anti-Hindu activities. These are all matters of public knowledge. So I think if only for the sake of record, if they are distancing themselves from it, it's only an attempt to mislead people.
Okay.
And our friend on the panel, Mr. Haq was saying RSS training देती है तलवार चलाने में, कौन सा शाखा में गए भाई साहब? या पाकिस्तान में किसी शाखा में गए क्या?
कर्नाटक में अभी
केवल सेल्फ डिफेंस के लिए
मंदिर में
ओके ओके, एक सेकंड, फैक्ट्स पर डिबेट को रखेंगे, किसकी क्या पर्सनल सोच है उसमें हम नहीं जाएंगे। ओके, तहसीन पूनावाला एंड देन आनंद रंगनाथन। तहसीन पूनावाला, गो अहेड।
No, don't mock.
Thank you, Swati. I hope I'll not be interrupted just now. I want to make 2 or 3 very, very brief interjections. Point number 1, you are repeatedly referring to a note, but in your remarks you called this an alleged note, and I take this note extremely seriously, like everybody of us on this panel take this extremely seriously. I'll tell you where the problem comes in these notes. The problem comes, and I've been on Times Now for years, when a similar note came out alleging the assassination of our honorable Prime Minister, and do you know, and let your viewers know, that the NIA, which said that this note existed, withdrew this note in the court, in the NIA court. This is in the Bhima Koregaon. So for months we believed a note that was discussed, an alleged note, and then the NIA withdrew it, and therefore I'm saying the national security is not being taken seriously by the Prime Minister or the Home Minister, who perhaps have the spine of a molten eclair. Therefore they are not acting against PFI. I'm admitting to you every political party is bad, but Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah are shining stars of our country, right? So why don't they ban it? That's the only question. Okay. Point number 2, Anand quoted Ambedkar, and he should. Ambedkar is somebody I look up to, but Ambedkar says in Pakistan or the partition, 1946, pages 354 to 355, if Sangh Raj does become a fact, it will no doubt be the greatest calamity for this country. Sangh Raj must be prevented at any cost. This is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The fact of the matter is, I repeat as I end, the Sangh and the PFI are two sides of the same coin. Rupee is 80 to the dollar, and these things have come out. Please ban the PFI.
You're saying we should be focusing on more important issues. The government
Please understand one thing. No Muslim wants this to be a Muslim majority country. No Muslim wants this to be a Muslim majority country. Every Muslim wants Modi to live a long life.
Okay, that is the right stand to take. No community, rather let's say no community wants this. No individual, no Indian wants this. But Dr. Anand Ranganathan, okay, but Dr. Anand Ranganathan, of course the agencies, the police in this case as well will have to prove this in the court of law. It is being called alleged because it is the police's case against the PFI, against the individuals who've been arrested. But like I said, one should not, at this point of time, take the attention away from the content of the alleged document that has come to the fore. And that should in fact be a warning for not just Hindu community or the government or the police or the security agencies, but for the Muslim community as well. Look at some organizations who are ready to exploit you.
No, absolutely, Swati. Please give me a minute and a half, because a lot of unfortunate comments have been made tonight, and I need to rebut at least two of them. Now, this gentleman, Mr. Haq, he was talking of Islamic State, and then he made an equivalence with the Hindu Rashtra. Islamic State is what the Kashmir Valley is currently and has been for the last 20-30 years. That is what Islamic State is. And let me tell you unequivocally that two of these... Now, can I not be interrupted, please?
No, please, you can
this is what scares them.
Dr. Anand
This is why they are rattled. The moment I start rebutting them,
you are no one to define Islamic identity.
I cannot.
Will be interrupted.
I cannot continue like this.
Advocate
Because
Rashidi,
they have come here.
आप लोग जब बोल रहे थे तो उन्होंने आपको interrupt नहीं किया. उनको भी अपनी राय रखने दीजिए, please.
Just because I am a kafir.
Of Islam.
No, let's not.
अरे भाई काफिरों से इतनी नफरत क्यों है?
नहीं, एक सेकंड. आप अपनी राय रख सकते हैं, एडवोकेट रशीदी. जब आप बोल रहे थे किसी ने इंटरप्ट नहीं किया.
I've been waiting for 20 minutes.
उनको अपनी बात रखने दीजिए, please. I have to wrap up the debate as well. उनको अपनी बात रखने दीजिए, please. Yes.
So do I have an uninterrupted minute,
Yes, go ahead,
Swati, or do I not? Thank you. What scares them, what rattles them is the truth, which was spoken almost a century ago by Dr. Ambedkar when he talked about Dar al-Harb and Dar al-Islam. And their hero Gilani, who they worship and eulogized when he passed away, these two panelists. Let me quote Gilani verbatim, and then you will understand what they mean by Islamic State, which is going on in Kashmir right now. I am quoting Gilani now. Quote, Kashmir must become an Islamic state. Our goal is the establishment of Islamic government. Our struggle is for the sake of Islam. Pakistan was created for the hegemony of Islam. Muslims are a qawm wholly separate from Hindus. I can go on and on and on. This is the kind of man these people worship.
Okay.
And second point, to my good friend Tehseen, when he says PFI and RSS are the two sides of the same coin. Can I ask him, when he says PFI must be banned, is he saying that RSS should also be banned and RSS is a terror organization? Then say it, Tehseen. Say it.
Okay, you know, unfortunately, I don't have more time for this debate. I want to wrap it up right here. Irrespective of the political blame game that's happening, any right-thinking individual in this country today should look at the seriousness of the issue and should be able to identify elements who are only trying to sow seeds of hatred. Thank you very much, gentlemen. GVL Narasimha Rao, Tehseen Poonawalla and Dr. Anand Ranganathan would continue with us on debate number 2 as well. Moving on. Now, what's parliamentary and what's unparliamentary is being redefined. Barbs and taunts previously used as ammunition to destroy political opponents are now being censured. While some are neologisms like Jumla Jivi and Andolan Jivis, others are seemingly innocuous words like false, traitor and even lollipop. The opposition was quick to blame the BJP for forcing the speaker to debar words which are used to criticize the NDA like Bhrashtachar. First, listen in to them, these reactions that are coming in, and they are alleging that the voice of the people is being muzzled.
आज आप आज़ादी आने से आज तक में किसी भी असेंबली ने या लोकसभा या राज्यसभा के हमारे जो अनपार्लियामेंट्री वर्ड्स में जुमले जीवी, जुमलेबाज, वो कभी भी अनपार्लियामेंट्री नहीं हुआ है। भ्रष्ट कभी भी अनपार्लियामेंट्री नहीं हुआ है। आप झूठ बोल रहे हो, आप नौटंकी कर रहे हो।
There is a set procedure inside the parliament.
Yes, so please tell us about it.
Set procedure is that speaker should convene the meeting of a rule committee, and their agenda will be fixed because it is an institution. It is none of the individual's personal asset.
In fact, it's very interesting that the words that have been chosen as unparliamentary are usually used for the BJP government, and that shows that they are not prepared to accept any kind of criticism. नहीं तो ऐसा क्या है कि आपको जुमला जीवी से बहुत परेशानी हो रही है, तानाशाही से आपको परेशानी हो रही है.
So they know these are the very odd adjectives which are absolutely admissible for Bharatiya Janata Party, and knowing this fully well, they are trying to do this censorship. But let me tell you the fact, they cannot throttle the opposition voice like by doing this.
मैं कहूँगा पार्लियामेंट में खड़े होकर कि मैं देश के प्रधानमंत्री और उनकी सरकार पर फूल फेंक कर मारूंगा कि उनके देश के युवाओं का मुकद्दर बेरोजगारी बना दिया, तो क्या फूल को अनपार्लियामेंट्री बना देंगे आप? कंटेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है।
Well, the speaker himself has called out the bluff of the Ninda GVs and he has given a point-by-point rebuttal. Listen into the speaker.
जब कभी भी संसद में चर्चा संवाद के दौरान चाहे सत्ता पक्ष हो चाहे प्रतिपक्ष हो, कोई भी मान्य सदस्य किसी पे आरोप प्रत्यारोप या अन्य विषयों के संदर्भ में बोलते समय कुछ विषयों पर आपत्ति करते हैं, तो उस समय जो पीठासीन अधिकारी रहते हैं, चाहे राज्य की विधानसभाओं में हो चाहे लोकसभा राज्यसभा में हो, वो उस समय मानते हैं कि ये शब्द जो बोला गया है, जिस क्रम में बोला गया है, वह संसदीय नहीं है, तो उसको एक्सपंज करते हैं, विलोपित करते हैं। और ये परंपरा बहुत लंबे समय से चली आ रही है। ये स्पष्ट मैं फिर करना चाहता हूं, किसी भी शब्दों को बैन नहीं किया गया है। जिन शब्दों को उस समय कार्रवाई के अंदर स्पंज किया गया है, चाहे लोकसभा हो चाहे राज्यसभा हो चाहे राज्य की विधानसभा हो, उसका संकलन जारी किया है। डिबेट चर्चा करने वाले जब दलों के आधार पर चर्चा करते हैं तो उनको दल से ऊपर उठकर जहां जहां उन दल की सरकार है उनके विषयों को भी सामने रखना चाहिए। देश में भ्रम की स्थिति नहीं होना चाहिए। किसी शब्दों को बैन नहीं किया है और किसी सरकार भी बैन नहीं करती है। मैं डिबेट और चर्चा में सुन रहा हूं कि इस सरकार ने बैन कर दिया, उस सरकार ने बैन कर दिया। चाहे राज्यों की सरकार हो चाहे केंद्र की सरकार हो, सभी राज्य की विधानसभा और लोकसभा और राज्यसभा एक स्वतंत्र स्वतः निकाय है जिन पर
But is the speaker right in calling out Congress's duplicity? Sample the word Bhrashtachar. Now, it was banned by the Congress in Rajasthan Assembly in 2021. But today, Priyanka Gandhi shoots a fiery tweet saying Bhrashtachar करे तो उसे भ्रष्ट नहीं, भ्रष्टाचार का master stroke कहे. लेकिन राजस्थान को वो भूल गई. Now, let's get you some more words banned by the Rajasthan Assembly, which now find mention in the list compiled by the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Sample this. Unpad was banned in Rajasthan Assembly in March 2021 under the Congress rule. Anargal banned again in 2021, again under the Congress rule. Auqat banned in 2021, Congress rule. And it's not just Rajasthan, states like Chhattisgarh have also banned certain words. Some more words that were banned by Chhattisgarh in the Chhattisgarh Assembly: Anshant, Anargal, Andha Bate, Revdi, Cheen Ki De. These are the words that were expunged or banned from the assemblies as well. Now, the speaker says it's a routine. So why is the opposition so upset? Let's open this up and go across to our guests. GVL Narasimha Rao, Dr. Anand Ranganathan and Tehseen Poonawala continue to be with us. We have Sujata Pandey, political analyst, and Jawahar Sarkar, Rajya Sabha MP from the TMC on the broadcast. Good evening to all of you. Mr. Sarkar, like I just told you and you heard from the speaker, it's a routine procedure, has been happening since 1950s. So why is the opposition so upset? It's not like these words have only been used by the opposition against the government.
No, it's not like that. You have to take a broader view. There's been a concerted, disconcerting move to choke the voice of the opposition. Last year, during the same monsoon session, they brought in a very provocative subject, Pegasus, on which the entire House was interrupted for the whole session. And then they went on passing bills of choice in 5 minutes and 7 minutes. It's a strategy almost like that. How can you accept a word like corrupt? How can you accept a word about foolish? How can you accept somebody like Chatukar or something? I mean, these words are a part of the common parlance. Let us not use Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh as models of governance or models of anything. Their assemblies are independent, autonomous organizations, and they have taken their choice. But these words, like the speaker said, have not been banned. We don't need to copy examples of such extreme.
The Honourable Member of Parliament may use it, it will be expunged.
Whatever it is. No, it is not like that.
Okay.
This large vocabulary that has been brought into ban is exemplary, is extraordinary, and hurts the democratic sentiment.
It has hurt the democratic sentiment.
I have analyzed it and I have found that the English
picture
word
is that the government is muzzling the voices. That's the larger picture.
Okay, Swati, facts first. You know, the opposition MPs who seem to be absolutely disheartened by the new list which is released, the unparliamentary words list. I mean, they should know the few facts first. See, these words are not banned. They are free to use. They can continue to abuse and bring the dignity and the decorum of the parliament. Nobody's stopping it. It's just that these words will be expunged from the official recordings. Secondly, the throwing of mics, standing on the tables, breaking of the chair, tearing of the pills are still allowed. They can continue to do that. They can come up with innovative ways to abuse and insult in their regional language. That is their freedom. There's a lot of freedom over there. But the fact is that TMC and the Congress are forgetting that this practice has been in existence since 1954. Okay, and all these words are just a compilation. They are mere compilation, which are already expunged by the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the state legislatures. You know, Congress had no problem when they were doing it, and even till Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, these lists were compiled and expunged. This is a compilation of the 25,000 words in a book, which is just for the reference sake. But just because it is done by the BJP for the hate of Modi, they have to raise this non-issue.
Okay, for the hate of Modi, they are opposing, says Sujata. Kasim Poonawalla is already smiling.
Of the issues.
Okay, it's for the hate of Modi.
I think she's way off the mark. Anyway.
Nobody, please, Mr. Member of Parliament, nobody hates Mr. Modi. We just love our country too much, and therefore we have to defeat Mr. Modi. There's a difference between the two, because that's the right thing to do for our country. But let's come to the crux of the issue. One of the words banned or not allowed to be spoken about is sexual harassment. In a country where every 6.2 minutes a woman is raped, you don't want the word sexual harassment to be mentioned. You don't want the word abuse to be mentioned. You don't want the word corrupt to be mentioned, which Sujata Pandey is right. The BJP was using it against the ex-Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, and they could prove nothing. You don't want the word Jumla Jeevi to be mentioned, because that was the word used by the Honorable Home Minister describing Mr. Modi. So what words can be used? The words used by the Honorable Home Minister on the floor of the House when he replied to Supriya Sule said, and I quote him verbatim, कि क्या फारूक अब्दुल्ला की कनपट्टी पे बंदूक लगा कर ले आओ? या the words used by the Honorable Prime Minister describing the ex-Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh ji कि कैसे नहाते हैं रेनकोट पहनकर. These words should be used in Parliament. Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds the dubious distinction of his words being expunged not in one but in two houses of Parliament. That is where the parliamentary standards have come down.
But Andolan Jeevi was used by the Prime Minister in 2021 in Rajya Sabha. That is now part of the list. Narendra Tomar used the word Khoon Ki Kheti. That is now part of the list.
And he wants it. So Jubla Jeevi.
So
they should apologize for using it in Parliament. First come to the people of India and apologize for using this language. Apologize.
Yeah, Swati, I think as the Honorable Speaker spoke to the media, the word that is being used in the media, these words are banned. That is most inappropriate word. There is no word that is banned. Members are free to speak the way they choose to, but they have to maintain parliamentary decorum. And if there are words that are considered unparliamentary by the previous speakers or the chairman of the Rajya Sabha or any speaker of the state assemblies, they have all been compiled together. So it's a compendium of all words that have been considered to be unparliamentary in debates that were conducted in state assemblies and parliament. You see, how can you? I object to the word Tanashahi being used. I raised it in Parliament. When somebody spoke it, we are in a house of democracy. How can you denigrate your own democracy by calling it a Tanashahi dictatorship? I think you either have no respect for your democracy, or you simply want to gain effect.
Dr. Anand Ranganathan, is this censorship or is this just a compilation? Is this just a routine process or is this muzzling of the voices like the Member of Parliament is saying?
Two very quick points. Number one, I think, first of all, I must congratulate you, Swati. You have a delicious sense of irony. Here we are talking about unparliamentary language, and one of the panelists from the TMC is perhaps one of the most abusive persons around. He had to take back and apologize for calling the finance minister a sales girl. And you've called him on the panel, and he's deliberating on what is abusive and what is not. So a tremendous sense of irony. I must congratulate you.
I have not
Number
used
two,
such terms.
as you have already shown your wonderful primer. Now, can you please not interrupt? Can you please not interrupt? Did you not apologize for your execrable tweet?
I don't.
Have you not apologized for trolling and abusive language before Mr. Sarkar? Let us be honest here.
It was a
or let me ask you another question, Swati. You know, this constant interruption whenever I speak. Is there a plan of these guys? Swati, can I please have my say?
Okay,
I mean, here I say it. I am the last panelist to speak.
Get to the subject.
And I don't even get 30 seconds.
Okay.
This is very unfair.
Dr. Anand Ratan, but please also come back. Come back to the topic.
I know personal.
Yes,
can I please?
Whatever your name is.
Can I please?
Don't be personal.
Okay,
can
complete your point.
Can I please?
Complete your point.
Next you will have this lackey saying that what Mamta Didi said, Pichon Banch, is also parliamentary. So let's get away. Let's get to the topic. The news has already been declared as fake news by the Honorable Speaker. What the Congress was going on and on about since morning. Now, Swati, am I allowed to have my say, or
yes,
can I have
please go ahead, gentlemen. Please limit your arguments to the topic. Please, no personal jibes. Don't engage with each other right now. Please go ahead, Dr. Anand Ranganathan.
Can you ask him? Can you ask him to not being unparliamentary? He is a member of Rajya Sabha. Let him be unparliamentary there. This is not Rajya Sabha. Okay. So now, as I was saying, two very quick points. Number one, Tehseen did not comment on the fact that most of these words that have been expunged previously, and this was a compendium as clarified by the Speaker, were done so in Congress-ruled states. Tehseen will not say that Congress-ruled assembly actually expunged the word corruption. He sidestepped it. So this is an absolute fake news that has been spread, and the canard has been clarified by the Speaker. Okay. Number two, Tehseen also... Now, Swati, I can't continue like
speaking,
this. This
Dr.
gentleman is a member of parliament. Does he not know? Does he behave like this? Thank you. Yeah, please ask him not to interrupt me. And number two, as far as you telling me, you asking me.
That's all.
Swati, you know, there is a fader. You know this, as an anchor, there is a fader. Please exercise your right. Because I'm being constantly interrupted.
Okay, Dr. Ranganathan, finish your point. Finish your point. I can give you a couple of uninterrupted 30 seconds. Yes.
Swati, I would like to respond to Dr. Ranganathan.
Thank you.
Let him finish his point first.
What I wanted to say when you asked me a direct question was...
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. You asked me a very pointed question about censorship. I partly agree with you. This is an old school boys toying around. I would call them arrested adolescents. How can somebody ban someone calling democracy dictatorship? I am not for any censorship except if it is a direct abuse. The point of the matter is that this is fake news. That is the whole point. The issue is none of the words have been banned as was alleged since morning. The Speaker has already clarified these are expunged words, a compendium. Most of it was collated through Congress-ruled assemblies. Tehseen, please clarify, why did Rajasthan Assembly expunge corruption? Why?
Okay, quickly. Tehseen Poonawalla, quickly.
May I please reply to Dr. Ranganathan? Three very quick points to Dr. Ranganathan. A, whatever the state assemblies did expunge or did not expunge, they had the opposition in the meeting following parliamentary procedure. That was not followed here. That is the first objection. Two, even if Congress is wrong, is it the motto of the BJP for doing the wrong that the Congress does? Third, so that leads us to the main question in parliament. Kare to kare kya, bole kya, sirf wah Modi ji wah. Is that all that we are supposed to say? And
GVL Narasimha Rao, kare to kare kya, bole kya ab? सब कुछ तो आप एक्सपंज कर रहे हैं.
It's not the BJP government which has done this. I think people know this. People like Tehseen know it for a fact, but then they will repeat it 10 times only to mislead people. Lok Sabha Speaker clearly stated it's a Speaker of Lok Sabha is an independent institution. It's a constitutional office. The House, the Speaker has compiled, Speaker's office has compiled this information. It's not put out by the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. And he stated it clearly, also the procedure that was followed. I would like to believe that Lok Sabha Speaker in Rajasthan also is an honorable speaker.
You know, the member of parliament has said that we shouldn't take what is happening in the assemblies as the governance model. But Sujata, I want to bring you in and ask you a very important question. Another argument that is being given by the opposition is that only 25% of the bills passed made it to the select committee from 2014 to 2019 compared to 71% in 2009 to 2014 and 60% from 2004 to 2009. That suggests a pattern. Their allegation is that Mr. Rao already is nodding, but that question is to Sujata.
Wrong information. This is absolutely wrong information.
Okay, wrong information.
Number of committees the number of bills that are sent to the committees for review is far higher in our regime compared to the Congress.
Okay, that's your rebuttal. Okay, Sujata.
Yes.
Also, Swati, you know, sometimes when these bills are sent for the committee for their review or revision, you know, they take time. There are certain bills which have been pending since 7 years or 11 years as well. One of the cases about the agriculture bill, I can't really recall the exact name of the bill, but there are a lot of times that this gets delayed. And people elect these representatives knowing well that they will take a decision which is in the true interest of the nation. So if the parliament is taking a decision, I don't really see that for every bill that needs to be sent to the committee for its review. So I think that is pretty clear over there.
Okay, all right. The opposition says this is censorship, that their voices are being muzzled. Like Tehseen Poonawala said, करें तो करे क्या, बोले तो बोले क्या, सब कुछ expunge हो रहा है. The government says आपको रोका नहीं जा रहा है. You're not being banned. You will still get the freedom to question the government and express your views. और दुनिया और देश आपको सुनेगी जब आप ऐसा कहेंगे. बाद में उसको expunge कर दिया जाएगा. Gentlemen, thank you. I'm completely out of time. I can't give you any more time, Dr. Ranganathan. I have to wrap up the debate. Thank you very much for joining us with your perspectives.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them. I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास और अब सबका विश्वास, ये हमारा मंत्र है.
Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been relentlessly accused by the opposition of ignoring Muslim voters, is leaving no stone unturned to maintain its way in Uttar Pradesh till the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Buoyed by the party's performance in SP bastions Azamgarh and Rampur, BJP is now eyeing Pasmanda Muslim community in the state. Pasmanda, which means left behind in Farsi. It accounts for around 75% of the total Muslim population in Uttar Pradesh. During the recently concluded National Executive meeting in Hyderabad, PM Modi had asked the UP BJP cadre to ramp up the outreach among the Pasmanda community for their social upliftment. Even Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh is learnt to have taken feedback from the UP unit about the contribution of Pasmanda community in the Saffron Party's electoral performance since the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. While RSS has reportedly not received positive feedback on the allegiance of Muslims towards the BJP, a minuscule section of the community has extended its support. Most of the Muslims who supported the BJP in elections are said to be from Pasmanda community who benefited from BJP schemes. Moreover,
look at the top stories of the day.
Gohar Chishti, the man who gave Sartan Se Juda slogans outside Ajmer Dargah on 17th of June, has been arrested. 27 days since his provocations, Gohar Chishti was nabbed in Hyderabad and will be brought to Ajmer for further questioning. Security of former Aam Aadmi Party leader Kumar Vishwas has been upgraded to Y+ category following recent threat assessment. In February this year, he was granted Y security. After taking charge of AIADMK, EPS has sacked 2 sons of political rival OPS and 16 other leaders. OPS was himself removed from the party few days ago amidst tussle for control of the party. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has been hospitalized in Chennai 2 days after he tested positive for COVID-19. He was admitted for investigation and observation for COVID-related symptoms. Embattled Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain's wife, Poonam Jain, is unlikely to appear before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning. She has cited medical grounds and sought more time. The minister is under the scanner over a money laundering case. Facing a defamation case filed by Kirit Somaiya, Sanjay Rawat today appeared before Seuri Court. Court has asked Rawat to appear again on 18th of July. Alt News co-founder Mohammad Zubair has been sent to 14-day judicial custody after he appeared before the Hathras court. 2 cases have been registered against him in the district in 2018. Former Vice President Muhammad Hamid Ansari has refuted BJP's allegation that he shared confidential information about India with Pakistani journalist Nusrat Mirza. BJP had earlier cited media reports to allege the same.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, a free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Shankar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Andolan Jeevi, Jumla, Unpad, Bhrashtachar. These are just some of the words which will have to be expunged, or rather erased, from the parliamentary jargon. The dictionary of unparliamentary words has been updated, and the opposition isn't taking it lying down. They say that terms are often used to describe the abysmal performance of the government inside the parliament. The opposition also claims the speaker is working at the behest of the BJP government and preemptingly striking out these terms ahead of the upcoming session of the parliament, the monsoon session of parliament, which is slated to begin on Monday, the 18th of July. Listen in to the opposition going up in arms.
There is a set procedure inside the parliament.
Yes, so please tell us about it.
Set procedure is that speaker should convene the meeting of rule committee, and their agenda will be fixed because it is an institution. It is none of the individual's personal asset.
In fact, it's very interesting that the words that have been chosen as unparliamentary are usually used for the BJP government, and that shows that they are not prepared to accept any kind of criticism. नहीं तो ऐसा क्या है कि आपको जुमला जीवी से बहुत परेशानी हो रही है, तानाशाही से आपको परेशानी हो रही है.
So they know these are the very odd adjectives which are absolutely admissible for Bharatiya Janata Party, and knowing this fully well, they are trying to do this censorship. But let me tell you the fact, they cannot throttle the opposition voice like by doing this.
मैं कहूंगा पार्लियामेंट में खड़े होकर कि मैं देश के प्रधानमंत्री और उनकी सरकार पर फूल फेंक कर मारूंगा, क्योंकि देश के युवाओं का मुकद्दर बेरोजगारी बना दिया. तो क्या फूल को अनपार्लियामेंट्री बना देंगे आप? कंटेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है.
The speaker himself fact-checked the opposition. He pointed out that this age-old practice of unparliamentary dictionary is always drafted by the Sansad and not by the Sarkar. Listen in to Speaker Om Birla.
जब कभी भी संसद में चर्चा संवाद के दौरान चाहे सत्ता पक्ष हो चाहे प्रतिपक्ष हो, कोई भी मान्य सदस्य किसी पे आरोप प्रत्यारोप या अन्य विषयों के संदर्भ में बोलते समय कुछ विषयों पर आपत्ति करते हैं, तो उस समय जो पीठासीन अधिकारी रहते हैं, चाहे राज्य की विधानसभाओं में हो चाहे लोकसभा राज्यसभा में हो, वो उस समय मानते हैं कि ये शब्द जो बोला गया है, जिस क्रम में बोला गया है, वो संसदीय नहीं है, तो उसको एक्सपंज करते हैं, विलोपित करते हैं. और ये परंपरा बहुत लंबे समय से चली आ रही है. ये स्पष्ट मैं फिर करना चाहता हूं, किसी भी शब्दों को बैन नहीं किया गया है. जिन शब्दों को उस समय कार्रवाई के अंदर स्पंज किया गया है, चाहे लोकसभा हो चाहे राज्यसभा हो चाहे राज्य की विधानसभा हो, उसका संकलन जारी किया है. डिबेट चर्चा करने वाले जब दलों के आधार पर चर्चा करते हैं, तो उनको दल से ऊपर उठकर जहां जहां उन दल की सरकार है, उनके विषयों को भी सामने रखना चाहिए.
भ्रष्टाचार करे तो उसे भ्रष्ट नहीं, भ्रष्टाचार का मास्टर स्ट्रोक कहें. This is what Priyanka Gandhi Vadra has said in her tweet today. But let's remind her how it was the Congress's own Sarkar in Rajasthan who has banned the word Bhrashtachar. So is Bhrashtachar being removed from Parliament more problematic than removing it from the Legislative Assembly of Rajasthan? This is done under Gehlot's watch in March 2021. So why Is there doublespeak by the Congress party now? Let's get you some more words banned by the Rajasthan Assembly, which now finds itself mentioned in this list compiled by the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Anpad, Anargal, Aukat, these are words that have been banned recently in 2021 by the Rajasthan Assembly itself. Even Chhattisgarh Assembly and Punjab didn't hold themselves back in barring some of these words. The opposition says that the words only from the dictionary of their parties have been tagged unparliamentary by the Speaker in the Parliament. So, let's remind you how some of the words used by the NDA, even by the Prime Minister in the past, will now be expunged if used. Prime Minister Modi had said this, some of these words. The question here is the opposition right? Is the opposition right in its saying that it is being gagged, or is the BJP right? Or in the middle of this somewhere, have people lost out on good parliamentary debates? That's the big question. The legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight. Censored first, can it complain now? That's the question to the opposition going out tonight. And the debate coming up on the other side.
Newshour at 9. Debate number 1. On Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me on the debate tonight, Amit Malviya, national spokesperson of the BJP, Smita Prakash, editor of ANI, Raghav Chadha, Rajya Sabha member of parliament from the Aam Aadmi Party, is joining us in just a bit. Advocate Kapil Madan, Congress supporter, and also part of many Congress committees. And my first question goes to Dr. Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar, national spokesperson and member of parliament of the Trinamool Congress. Kakoli di, what's that? If I can see correctly, I think Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar has put a tape on her mouth. Kakoli Didi, this is not the parliament. You can take off the tape. This is not the parliament, and maybe on the debate tonight on the Newshour, you can say what you want before things get expunged. I'm not expunging anything, even for fear of FIRs from the Kolkata police. You can go ahead and say what you want.
No, Kolkata police will not be after you. Now, I just wanted to be sure before I open my mouth that you would allow me to speak, because now it is appalling what has come about. As it is, for the last 7 years, we didn't have any press conference from the Honorable Prime Minister. We were not allowed to speak when we raised our hands inside the House most of the times. And the rate of ordinance has increased so much. Previously, it used to be 1 in 30 bills. Now it is 1 in 10 bills. The farm law came as an ordinance, so many others. So this is not done in a democracy. And now, when you're putting leucoplast on our mouths, then what is the use of having a democracy in the parliament at all? This just proves that there is no democracy in our parliament.
Well, no democracy. Amit Malviya, are you killing democracy in the parliament? Because you're not even allowing simple words. Words, that Derek O'Brien has put out in his tweet. And these are pretty simple words. And these words are words that are used virtually every day, every sentence. And I'm sure a lot of these words have been used by your party up until 2014. Abused, betrayed, corrupt, hypocrisy, incompetent, ashamed. Even ashamed is a word that cannot be used. Now, what is it that you're trying to do? Censorship?
Well, Navika, the problem is that I wake up every morning to find that the opposition has found another ridiculous topic to fulminate about. And they do it with such aplomb, as if the world is going to collapse, and then they move on to the next issue the very next day. Yesterday it was the aggressive lions. Today the lions have disappeared, and there is this dictionary which has apparently come up. Now, is this a new practice? Is this something that has come up after 2014, the reference point for all meltdown in our country? The answer is no. This list has been in the making for the longest time. And what is this list all about? This is a compilation of expunged words in various state assemblies, in Lok Sabha, in Rajya Sabha, and also several Commonwealth countries. Now, what is the purpose of this list? The purpose of this list is to sensitize our members of parliaments and legislators that these words in different contexts, in different assemblies and perhaps countries have been deemed to be unparliamentary. Now, that does not mean that the members of parliament cannot use these words in their speeches. It simply highlights that somebody took an objection to it in a particular country. Now, words do get expunged. They get expunged because of the context in which they are spoken, and if they have been spoken in a way that appears to be out of line, and it has been done in several state assemblies. Like, for example, you said corruption was expunged in Rajasthan Assembly. Will the Congress have a problem with that? They will not, but they will make it an issue at the center. Now, making issues out of non-issues has become the raison d'etre of the opposition because they perhaps don't have anything substantive to criticize this government on. Now, what can I say when Dr. Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar talks about democracy? In West Bengal Assembly, do you know that media is not allowed? You know their proceedings cannot be recorded, they cannot be shot, so that the ruling party can actually physically manhandle the opposition MLAs and stall the proceedings or take it in their direction. So when I hear sermons on democracy from the Trinamool Congress, I can only laugh. You spoke about the summons that you're getting from Kolkata police. Kolkata police does everything else other than what they're supposed to. They would send summons to the BJP spokespeople, but would not act against Mahua Moitra, who made that very uncharitable comment against Ma Kali. So if you use the kind of terminology that you used for Ma Kali in the parliament, naturally it will be expunged. If the TMC cannot understand that, perhaps that is the reason why these compilations are made, so that people who don't have control over their language and expression can see how the world is moving towards.
Well, so let me get Kakoli Didi. Kakoli Didi, you want to respond to that? You don't even televise the Bengal Legislative Assembly proceedings. Rich of you to begin to complain about democracy, says Amit Malviya. Respond to that charge.
Yeah, see, first of all, he is trying to divert from the original issue. You know, corruption is an unhealthy word. When he cites that corruption has been deleted or expunged in some state assembly, let him stick to today's issue. And what is the role of the opposition? The role of the opposition is to point out the faults of the ruling party, the treasury benches. And there should be a healthy democracy in which we are allowed to talk.
Fair point. Fair point, but the role of the media is also to report on what happens in the legislature. So why can't the media be allowed in the legislature in West Bengal? It's a question you must take on head on because it is connected to this transparency and democracy debate.
He is not telling the truth. The media goes inside the house. He should come and watch. And about the, about the roughing up of people, Honorable Governor was not allowed to speak by his BJP MLAs who roughed him up, who shouted slogans and prevented him from speaking. It is his MLAs, the BJP MLAs, and the Honorable Chief Minister and the lady members of our party, of the Treasury benches, went up and requested Honorable Governor to speak on the opening day. It is his party MLAs who are ruffians and who do this inside the house. Now, as far as words are concerned, I am shocked to see, it's appalling that the way you prevent us from speaking. When a person is speaking, you're not really thinking about all the words you're using, as far as they don't hurt somebody else's sentiment, as they are not vile words, as long as they are not really below the belt. They are expunging. I mean, in the list I saw the word tears. If a girl in Hathras is murdered after being raped, and I say that the mother had tears in her eyes, they're going to expunge it. You're a woman, you tell me, is it allowed that the word tears is included in this list? Have you seen the
Absurd, and I'll get Amit Malviya to answer that. But first, getting in Raghav Chadda ji. Mr. Raghav Chadda, you're going to step into Parliament for your first session of the monsoon session as a new member of Parliament in Rajya Sabha. Do you know that the dictionary for you and the options for you have been severely curtailed? And there are many words like ashamed, also words like betrayed, corrupt, hypocrisy, incompetent, abused. These are not words that you can use anymore. I want to ask you, the Punjab Assembly has also expunged many of these words and put them on a blacklist. Do you think it's all around that this problem of democracy has to be addressed, or is your finger also pointing only towards the BJP and the Parliament functioning right now?
So a couple of quick things. First of all, it's very heartening to know that the government of India is very well aware of the words that aptly and very accurately describe the performance of the government. And the new definition of the word unparliamentary today, Navika ji, is the words that very aptly describe the Indian government and its functioning. On the negative side of it, this appears to be a gag order passed by a government that is fearful of the fact that the opposition members will show a mirror to them. You know, we've been hearing this old English saying that an ugly person blames the mirror. So this is a classic act where the government of India is blaming these unparliamentary words for their non-performance. And they're essentially snatching this mirror from the hands of the opposition MPs so that nobody shows the mirror to them, number one. Number two, as far as your references to Punjab and other assemblies concerned, let me tell you that in any legislature in India, whether it's the Indian Parliament or a state legislature, there are two guiding mechanisms or instruments through which it is ensured that the conduct within the House is dignified. First is the good sense of the MPs in their behavior and conduct. And the second is the control over the proceedings by the presiding officer. And if anything goes haywire in these two mechanisms or instruments, the words or the language used is expunged from the record. Expunction from the record is always the discretion of the speaker or the presiding officer, and he continues to enjoy this. But to impose this list on the people of harmless, innocuous names, of harmless, innocuous, words, shows that the government is afraid and scared to face the truth. Let me also tell you something that hasn't been really discussed today on these TV shows, is that Article 105 of the Indian Constitution gives complete freedom of speech and expression to every member of parliament.
True.
Article 105, sub-article 2, goes to the extent of giving a special privilege to every member of parliament and says that no reasonable restrictions apply. And any member of parliament, for whatever he says inside the house, cannot even be sued for defamation of any court.
He has privilege and protection. Therefore, but may I tell you, Mr. Raghav Chadda, the Punjab legislature, which you're leading, has expunged and made unparliamentary the word called lollipop. Will you restore it?
Look, I can only say that as far as these lists go, I don't know. I mean, we have just entered the house. It must have been done by the previous government. And I don't have a ready reckoner of what is there in the Punjab Legislative Assembly. It is not something done by my government. We got into office in the second week of March to 2022. Must have been done by the previous government. And merely because it was done by previous governments in Punjab, it doesn't mean that it is the right thing to do. I am in principle against this. This is a gag order and a special privilege that has been given to us by the Indian Constitution to all MPs for as long as we are MPs is being snatched away by this mere gag order. Let me tell you that these words corrupt, criminal, black marketing, etc. that have been snatched away from us are the words on which we have legislated. I mean, if you say that the word corrupt is unparliamentary, then tomorrow you will say that the Prevention of Corruption Act that has been enacted by virtue of clearance from this house is also unparliamentary.
Fair point.
Will you withdraw the
Fair point.
Will you withdraw the Prevention of Corruption Act?
Will you withdraw laws on black marketing because the word black marketing has become
the word dishonest
illegal?
The word dishonest has been called unparliamentary by the Congress party in 2011. The word shame has been called unparliamentary in 2012. So, Advocate Kapil Madan, I want to ask you, today, when there are tweets that are put out by Rahul Gandhi, by Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, by Mr. Jairam Ramesh and all and sundry in the Congress party, do you think they've forgotten their own history? Do you think, people have forgotten the fact that the word chori, loot, jhoot, all of these were made unparliamentary by the Congress party in 2012? Why are you being so hypocritical? Oh, I'm sorry, it's unparliamentary. I can't use the word hypocritical.
So
but this is not the parliament.
Thing, let me set the context very clear. Now, I have seen, I will focus on two words specifically: the word Andolan Jivi and Jumla Jivi, which finds mention in the list. And let us all, everyone knows that the word Andolan Jivi was used by the Honorable Prime Minister himself. The word Jumla was used by Amit Shah ji himself. So one thing is very clear. Now, if they say that these are the words which will be considered as unparliamentary, so now, aren't they contradicting themselves, because their own supreme leaders very frequently and very regularly use these words? That is point number one. The point number two is
that the BJP knows that the history will not remember them by the fact that they have insulted the farmers, they insulted the people who were doing their constitutional duty of seeking a reform by way of a protest, and you have insulted them by calling them Andolan Jivi, and they know that these words will find mention in the Lok Sabha debates, and the history will not remember them kindly. And to me, it looks like an attempt to wash away what they have done in the past, so that the future generation would not know.
Very convenient explanation, Advocate Kapil Madan. And Smita, I want to ask you, the Congress party only wants to talk about Jumla Jivi and Andolan Jivi because they know these are words that they will use for attacking the BJP. That's fine. But words like cheating, dishonesty, shame, chori, jhoot, loot, corrupt man. Corrupt man was expunged and made unparliamentary in 1966. My friend, not today. 1966. So, Smita, do you think the opposition is diverting the issue? Because these lists have been coming every year since 2010. Well,
I've just heard Navika, all the speakers speak. Raghav said about privilege and protection है. तो अगर इतना privilege और protection है, तो फिर घबराने का कारण this is there. You have so much of protection. You can't say certain words, or you can say even in Parliament certain words. They'll just get expunged. They're not banned words. And as Mr. Madan said, even words of the Prime Ministers have gone on the list. So where is the prejudice in putting these words? The point is that the context is important, which is what the speaker said. It's not a new phenomenon, because this has been, it's just an update of unparliamentary words, and it's been going on since not 66, which
59. 1959 is when this exercise started.
So, it's 59. Okay, so 1959. So the document now has about 1,000 odd pages in that about words which can be expunged. Now the thing is that my concern, frankly, is about that media cannot reproduce it either. And in an era of live reporting, I don't know how we are going to be doing that. We've got to think about that too. I think it's too much of a kerfuffle, frankly, over words. We've seen parliamentarians jump over tables, pulling paper, shredding them, going towards the speaker, saying, those chanting slogans, disrupting the house. Frankly, people of India want a stop to that, not about words. Shakuni, Khalistani, donkey, these are the kind of words which are in that list. But frankly, these are words which are spoken outside.
You hit the nail on the head, Smita Prakash, and that's the question I want to ask Raghav Chadha. Raghav Chadha, we've seen members of Parliament of the upper house the House of the seniors, the House of State, and that's where we've seen people climbing over tables. And Kakolidi, you'll remember those scenes. They were all and videos were made by parliamentarians themselves of what really transpired. Do you think it's more important that those issues be addressed, or do you think the issue of this so-called gag order that you're referring to, incidentally, gag is also a word which is on the unparliamentary list. Now, I don't know, you and I may both face some flack for that, but that's also unparliamentary. I want to see the behavior of members of parliament. Doesn't that need to be addressed as well?
See, whether it's the conduct of the MPs, the behavior of the MPs, or the subject matter of a discussion in parliament. We can have a debate on any of these, but today the focus is this gag order that has been issued, and let's stick to it. We have also seen the times of the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Saab's BJP, where opposition MPs were empowered. Opposition MPs were made to feel as important as those sitting on the treasury benches. And today's BJP is going, way out of its way to ensure that opposition is unarmed. विपक्ष को निहत्था करने की कोशिश की जा रही है, number 1. Number 2, when Smita ji refers to this Article 1052 protection and the special privilege given to the MPs, let me tell you, my concern is that this privilege that has been given to us by Baba Sahab's constitution, by our founding father, stands diluted today by virtue of a small gag order. And that is my concern. And my right stands diluted. And therefore, I'm highlighting this. And lastly, I feel that now, because there is such noise and furore over this, the wise thing to do, Navika ji, is to A, withdraw this order, B, constitute a committee comprising of members of parliament of all parties. Let that committee govern as to which list needs to be published, whether a list like this needs to be published, and which words need to be included. All business of the House is driven by a business advisory committee. That business advisory committee has members of all parties. Similarly, create a separate committee. Let that committee, debate and discuss all this. What is this need to come up with a curated list that only favors the BJP?
Mr. Amit Malviya, he's talking about a consensus path. Is the BJP blocking consensus as well as rights to speak? That's the question from the opposition.
Look, Navika, I think members of parliament also have an important responsibility of reading up and being correct with the choice of the words. This isn't a gag order. For God's sake, if you haven't got it right, please go and look it up. It isn't a gag order. It is just a compilation of words that have been expunged in various assemblies, perhaps Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and like I said, even in Commonwealth countries. It is meant to sensitize the member of parliaments. So there is no solution for ignorance or pretended ignorance, if I may say so. Secondly, on the conduct of members of parliament, the members of parliament, particularly the ones in opposition, have been petulant. The Aam Aadmi Party, Sanjay Singh in the upper house, is an epitome of what a member of parliament's conduct should not be like. Similarly, several members of parliament from the TMC who were suspended, and Kakuli Ghosh Dastidar knows them pretty well, are the ones who we should not be emulating at all. As far as this particular order is concerned, or this compilation actually is concerned, it is meant to sensitize people that you can have a civil parliamentary debate, and most members of parliament should rise up to the occasion. Now, Navika, just one last point on this. I have a request with the opposition. Would you please come up with something substantive so that the democracy can be healthier? Can you guys actually come up with substantive criticism of the government if you can find any? Lastly, Kakuli Ghosh Dastidar eloquently spoke about the conduct of the TMC MLAs in the Legislative Assembly. Now, she was obviously lying, but if there were evidence to it, and evidence would have come if there was recording allowed in the assembly, in the West Bengal Legislative Assembly, she would have been proven wrong and her comments would be expunged. Now, that's the procedural part of how legislative houses operate. Members of Parliament need to understand that, and particularly from the opposition.
Is this all there is to democracy? That's a question being raised. I'll give 30 seconds to Kakoli Di because she's raising her hand, and 30 seconds to you, Raghav Chadha. Kakoli first.
No, I would just like to point out that it is not true. He is not telling the truth when he says the media is not allowed inside the West Bengal Assembly.
It can't be your word against mine because there are facts, and you have muzzled the media in West Bengal, and everybody knows.
Let's not speak over each other. Allow her to complete, Amit. She did not interrupt you. It's only fair that she completes her point.
You then have to give me the last word.
MPs, Rajbhar Saab and also Biduriji, who came to actually beat us up, the women MPs. We were demonstrating on the floor of the House in the well. It is, I have named them, you know, there was a scuffle and they came away. So you are not taking cognizance of the fact that honorable MPs of BJP also use this. And
okay, so you're justifying, you are justifying what happened in Rajya Sabha by the TMC MPs by what happened in Lok Sabha. Well, is that a justification? Raghav Chadha, I'm running out of time. 30 seconds to you.
I'll just take a... You see, the principal argument given by the BJP for introducing this list is that they want the proceedings house to be civil. My question is, have the proceedings of the Indian Parliament for all these years, for almost 7.5 decades, been uncivil? Have the proceedings been derogatory? If the checks and balances that are already there are working fine, what is the need to tinker with it?
Well, the jury is out on that one because we've seen several such incidents, and those visuals are playing on your screens, ladies and gentlemen. Are these really visuals of civil behavior? Is there just an unparliamentary list of words that we need to worry about? Or is there a code of conduct also that should be there? And may I, before I close this debate, just mention a few words in assemblies that are banned. Aksham Sarkar, Anpad Type, Asatya. Asatya, you can't say Asatya in Rajasthan. Adivasi in Chhattisgarh cannot be used. Ulta Chor Kotwal ko dante, Chhattisgarh Assembly does not allow you to use. Aukat, Qatl, Khalistani, Gadha, Girgit, all of these words are not being allowed in Rajasthan or Chhattisgarh or someplace else. Even Chor, Mosere Bhai cannot be said. Well, I think all political parties need to do some soul searching. In the middle of this, what does the media do? When people have said their words live on television camera, does the word expunge make any sense in the day and age of live television? Think about that. Thank you very much to my panelists for joining me on this debate. Don't go away because on the other side, Nambi Narayanan and R. Madhavan bringing in rocketry and that interview coming up on the other side. Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Frankly Speaking, and today I'm joined by the legend called Mr. Nambi Narayanan and the man R. Madhavan, who's made a film on the legend called Rocketry, the Nambi Effect. Welcome to the Times Now studios, both of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to ask you, R. Madhavan, how difficult was it to actually bring down a scientist into a celluloid film and a scientist who's been through almost such a dramatic life that possibly his life was just made for a film to be made on it?
I don't think there's any rationale in the way the film was conceived and shot and made. It was completely a passion project. The reason being, once you met Nambi Narayan sir and I had the good fortune of meeting him in 2016, it was very evident to me that there was much more to this man than just the case. And when I found out what that was, and the whole injustice of the entire situation hit me. Mr. Nambi Narayan was only being spoken about because of the spy case. And there was a lot more there than just a spy case. The fact that he was given the Padma Bhushan, and I dare say most of us here do not know why he got the Padma Bhushan. And so that's why it was difficult. It was almost an impossible task. But once we got into the mode, not just me, I think everybody involved in the film, it became a passion project. It was not anything to do with any rational decision at all.
And when you met him, what was the first thought that came to your mind?
I'm finding it strange saying it in front of him, but I knew that there was a lot more to this man than all that the world was harping about. He himself was harping about on his books. The fact that he was talking to me with angst about the case and how futile and useless and wrong it was. But there was a deep sense of I'm missing the point sort of feeling that I was getting, okay? And it took me 7.5 months of writing a script about his case and everything that happened. And then I came back to talk to him. And then he said at one point of time that, Madhavan, there's something wrong with this part. I was not here. I was in Princeton studying the instability theorem under Professor Krockow. That it struck me about what I was missing. And then that story about who Nambi Narayanan is. You know, our tagline on this film is sometimes a man wronged is a nation wronged. The nation had to know why wronging Nambi Narayanan was actually shooting itself in the foot.
But the film itself has very little about the case, so to speak. Why?
It's exactly what I was trying to say. It's because Nambi Narayan's name, the algorithm, every time you look into the Google and you put in Nambi Narayan, it spits out of the ISRO spy case fame. And that's not what Nambi Narayan sir is all about. That's not what this gentleman here is about at all. His contribution to the country, his contribution to the space agency, to ISRO, at the cost of his life, and many a times, is immeasurable. It's immeasurable. And then not to know about his achievements, I thought was a national disservice. And that is why I didn't want to add to the algorithm that added the case to his name every time. I wanted Nambi Narayan sir to be known for the extraordinary scientist that he is, which is why the film was made.
Mr. Nambi Narayanan, how comfortable or how discomforting is it when there's a film that's based on you the scientist, you the man who made the engines that are still today used by ISRO in its rockets. You the man who's been wronged so immensely. How was it when you first spoke about a film that is being made on you?
No, actually there is, I'm not astonished about the whole thing because as Madhavan was telling, I wanted to prove that I am innocent because there was a charge saying that I have sold rocket technology to some foreign countries. So my aim at that time was only to prove that I am innocent. But after talking to him, it was casually, it was emerging. In fact, he himself asked me, what is your contribution? What is it you have done to the nation? So I started slowly telling about all, what I did, which includes my episodes with Cleaver in Scotland, and Rolls-Royce, then episodes in France, then in Russia, and then in Princeton, USA. And then my starting of the whole thing with a 600 kg liquid engine. You hope you understand. A 600 kg is less than a ton. And how we came to 60 tons thrust, the Viking or the so-called Vikas engine. So he felt that these contributions are to be told to the nation. At least I agreed and I felt it is okay because though my priority was to prove my innocence, I felt that at least people will know how justified they are in giving me the so-called the Padma Bhushan award. So that way, I didn't feel anything sad or bad about it, but I felt it is necessary to make tell the story, yes.
So Madhavan, how much of these incidents are, as real as life was for Mr. Nambi Narayanan and depicted in the film? He's spoken about Russia, he's spoken about France, he's spoken about Princeton. How many of these incidents have been played close to reality in the film?
Ma'am, this film is spanning 50 years. So there will be liberties taken in terms of combining space and time and characters, which is the only liberty we've taken. Every incident you see in the film is absolutely truthfully and honestly depicted as it happened and as narrated to me by Nambi-sir, which includes what happened in Princeton, his time with Professor Crocco. Luigi Crocco was considered to be the father of the moon mission as well as an esteemed scientist at NASA. What he did in Scotland and how much equipment he got us from there. Him taking 52 scientists who were basically doing manual labor, trying to figure out how the French were building their engines without knowing French, and how they learnt it before they went, and how after 3 years they were able to build an engine better than the French. About how he went to the USSR and brought the engines back in the most adverse of times and doing things that only James Bond is capable of doing, in all honesty. So it was, I mean, I don't think that there is a more cinematic life that can be depicted as opposed to what Nambi-sir's life actually is. In fact, if I may actually go out as much saying that we had to tone down and keep some things out of the story to make it believable. Most films, you'll have to add a little bit of cinematic liberties.
And make it James Bondish.
Right. This one I had to take out. And if I tell you the shocking facts, you know, off screen, you will understand why I had to take out those stuff from being actually
So please
told.
tell us, you know, the journalists that we are, we always want to know what was edited and why, and what's the story behind the story.
Well, you know, as interesting as it might sound, and as apt as it might be for the occasion, there's no payoff for the country if I tell you that. You know, it's really that sad. And it's really that moving. And I think that we've done enough by driving people to tears, and the jingo being right now saying, sorry, Nambi Narayan sir, it's good to be enough. But if I tell you the rest of the stuff, I don't think that there's any, I think everybody, 1.4 million people, 140 million people would feel guilty about it.
Once in a while, is it wrong to make people feel guilty for the injustice done to our own
Not
James
at all.
Bond?
I think it's very essential. Why would it be once in a while? I think it's very important to feel them.
So make them feel guilty. Tell us.
I think I've reached the purpose of why I set out to make the film. The only point I was trying to make is there is more to the film than what is being depicted, as an answer to your earlier question where you were saying if there's a liberties taken. So in fact, like I was saying, there are facts being removed to make it palatable.
Mr. Nambi Narayanan, Madhavan says that the whole purpose of the film was to go behind just the spy case and to look at the contributions that were made by you in space research, which somewhere have got lost because these days the mother of all questions are answered by Google search. And Google search throws up a certain algorithm about you. Has the film done justice, number one? And in real life, do you think somewhere there is this little hollow feeling in your heart because your life has been eclipsed by the case rather than by the achievements that you have to offer to this country?
Honestly, I feel sad. Yes, my life, there was an eclipse. Something is clipped, my wings were clipped, and something happened to me. I paid heavily because I was fighting a case against two mighty governments, and then the media, and then the people, the society, everybody. But what bothers me is that is one side of it. But another side of it is the nation lost. Today we are at least 10, 15 years backwards. Now this was my dream, but that dream is shattered. So to that extent I feel sad about it. But otherwise, I can assure you one thing, this is not a James Bond movie. James Bond, what I mean by that is there is no sexism, there is no, what do you call?
The normal formula.
Yeah, no.
You missed having a girl to run around with.
Yeah,
you did.
Nice. Of course.
You don't have a colorful life. You know, that could have added to the value of the film.
Yeah, he tried his best to find out from me what kind of life I had, but I think he had the intelligence and the ability to talk to me in different occasions, in different styles, but unfortunately, he could get nothing of that sort from me. So he has to stick to the truth.
So no songs?
Not
in the types you're expecting, no, not at all.
Okay.
So in that James Bond kind of a thing, what all done is that, you know, there is absolutely no illegality there. Let me tell you, well, this is outright. whatever I have done is absolutely legal. There is no illegality, because I was worried that something illegal, if I do, it will reflect on the nation, it will reflect on the people who have given me encouragement at that time. So, though I had the license, like the James Bond, to kill, that is to do what I'm not saying kill in that sense, I'm saying to do things which will benefit to the nation from reasonably powerful people. I didn't use any of those things, honestly. I was trying to see how best I can meet the requirements for my dream. Again, that dream is mine. It is not that dictated to me by somebody else in that sense. But the moment the whole dream is lost or shattered, irreparably at least, then I thought that the only thing remaining is to prove my innocence. So I better go ahead and then try to do something on that. Then Madhavan's association helped me a lot. I consider him as a person who got passionate about the story. In fact, I didn't hide anything from him, but what I thought as important is he thought something else is more important in that story, namely that what my contribution is, because he wanted to make it known to the country that this is how unfailable or a great Vikas engine was built up. He just wanted to show how much we suffered in bringing it. Instead of saying that, okay, we made a Vikas engine. No, the Vikas engine has never failed. It is not just magic. It is a hard work, intelligent, hard work, which has gone into the system. It is having built-in reliability, I would say. Now, if you want to make it to fail, you have to do it intentionally. Otherwise, you can't make it to fail.
And the test of the Vikas engine is that it is till date being used.
Yes, 53 launches we have made, not even a single failure.
Not even a single failure. So here's the man, ladies and gentlemen, who's made the Vikas engine for the rockets, for the space research which go up. And this man here has ensured that India has had 53 of those launches without a single failure. And this man was accused of espionage. He was arrested. He was in jail for 2 years. First arrested by the Kerala police, and then the CBI came in, and the closure report came 2 years later. And those 2 years, Nambi Narayan, shattered your dream. The Kerala police, I just want to ask you, what were they trying to prove? What was the axe to grind between you and the Kerala government at that time?
Now, at that time...
Although he was in jail for 60 years, not
2 years.
Yeah, but the closure of the case took 2 years.
4 years.
94, you were
94,
arrested.
November 30th, the case started. And 96, May 2nd, it was come to a preliminary conclusion, namely I am innocent.
Yeah.
That's by the Supreme Court. So that time it took. But I was really in jail only for exactly 50 days.
50 days.
50 days. But those were horrible days. That's a different question.
No, so tell us.
Yeah, I will try to tell, but I don't want to recall those things. But I'll tell you what is. In the meanwhile, you asked me another question, and I forgot the question.
What did the Kerala government have?
What was that they are trying to prove? See, I didn't understand in the beginning. They arrested me and they went ahead and then they were torturing me and then making me to confess that I have sold the technology to. I asked which technology, which country. No, those two ladies. I said, I never seen those two ladies in my life. Etc. It went on, but they didn't like it. Then, no, you are telling a lie. So the process is they want me to. In fact, they told openly, you tell what we say. It is okay. Then I said, you write as if I have told what you wanted me to. No. We wanted you to tell that with your own voice. So I understood that they are trying to do some video recording and then trying to show somebody. In fact, very interesting. At some point of time, I thought, though it was really horrible and unbearable, I thought I will also have some fun. I said, all right, I will tell you exactly what you are saying. He said, okay, yes. Then I'll start telling. I went there on such and such a day, and I met, whom did he say? That there's two ladies. Like that, Then
So you gave their game away.
Oh boy, it was one full day I dragged in that process. Because I just wanted to hope that something will happen. I'm hoping something will happen. Because these guys are not going to be allowed to do what kind of nonsense they are doing. But of course it did happen, but it took 5 days. And you know, their argument in many places, it will be very interesting now, because they will say, he was under our custody only for 4 days. They reduced the 5 to 4 days. How can we torture him? Then I asked a question, 1 minute is sufficient for you to torture. Why 4 days is not sufficient? Actually, you asked me a question, I will try to answer. At the end of the 4th day, I was standing, not allowed to sit down, and not even a single drop of water was given. So this guy asked me, how long you will stand? I said, as long as my physique permits, I will stand. Anyway, in the process, I fell down. I was semi-conscious. They were talking, oh, I told you not to do this. This old man, if he kicks a bucket, we are in trouble. That man will be sitting there and then giving orders. All kinds of things are coming through ears. Now you can understand by standing approximately 30 hours and fainting, by resisting not to obey their orders. In fact, they failed to show, they showed all kinds of videographs to the court for the occasion, excepting mine. There is no video available. Then even the judge asked, what happened to that other accused? No, we could not do it, something like that. The point I'm making is, it was horrible, unbearable, and it is unimaginable. But the point is that at least I am happy, at least I didn't fall as a victim, or I didn't sing their song. I think that strength I got from God. I should say that.
Amazing. I'm not surprised that after hearing something like this, Madhavan, you decided to dedicate yourself to this, making this film and telling this story behind this man who was being framed so very obviously.
I was egged by this man's achievements. But here's the thing. You know, it's a good thing for you and me that somebody like him has an interest that aligned with the interest of the nation, because these people are capable of going anywhere. They're geniuses. They're a bloodhound after their objectives. And he wanted to make ISRO and India, the foremost runner in space. It happened to be in the interest of the nation. It could have very well been the other way, and Nambi sir wouldn't have thought twice.
And there would be so many temptations all the time,
No, the sheer vulnerability of scientists like him in our country, where we're unable to take care of. I mean, even now, forget about then, even now, if Nambi sir decides to go and work for a space agency, they would welcome him with open arms.
Salute you, Maddie, for bringing this to celluloid and making India watch this and relate to the greatness of this man and many like him whose stories have been untold. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Nambi Narayanan, and thank you so much, Maddie.
Very sweet. Thank
you. You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
இந்த லட்சணத்தில் ஆராசா வந்து கேட்கிறாரு, மக தனி நாடு கேட்போம். அது தனி ஆளா தான் நின்று கேட்கிறாரு. ஆராசாக்குள்ள ஆசை நயினார் நாகேந்திரன் மட்டும் இல்லாமலா போயிடும். நான் கேட்பேன், தமிழ்நாட்டை ரெண்டா பிரிங்கன்றவன்.
நான் அமித்ஷாவுக்கு சொல்லுகிறேன், பிரதமருக்கு சொல்லுகிறேன், மெத்த பணிவன்போடு சொல்லுகிறேன், உங்களை பணிந்து கெஞ்சி கேட்டுக் கொள்கிறேன். இந்த மேடையில் எங்களுடைய தலைவரை வைத்துக் கொண்டு சொல்லுகிறேன், அண்ணாவளியிலே பயணம் செய்கிறார் முதலமைச்சர். எங்களை பெரியார் வழிக்கு தள்ளிவிடாதீர்கள், தனிநாடு கேட்க எங்களை விட்டு விடாதீர்கள், மாநில சுயாட்சி தாருங்கள், அதுவரை நாங்கள் ஓய மாட்டோம் என்று சொல்லி விடைபெறுகிறேன். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
You're watching the News Hour at 9.
Gauhar Chishti, the man who gave Sartan Se Juda slogans outside Ajmer Dargah on 17th of June, has been arrested. 27 days since his provocations, Gauhar Chishti was nabbed in Hyderabad and will be brought to Ajmer for further questioning. Security of former Aam Aadmi Party leader Kumar Vishwas has been upgraded to Y+ category following recent threat assessment. In February this year, he was granted Y security. After taking charge of AIADMK, EPS has sacked 2 sons of political rival OPS and 16 other leaders. OPS was himself removed from the party few days ago amidst tussle for control of the party. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has been hospitalized in Chennai 2 days after he tested positive for COVID-19. He was admitted for investigation and observation for COVID-related symptoms. Embattled Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain's wife, Poonam Jain, is unlikely to appear before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning. She has cited medical grounds and sought more time. The minister is under the scanner over a money laundering case.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them. I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now.
सबका साथ, सबका विकास और अब सबका विश्वास, ये हमारा मंत्र है.
Bharatiya Janata Party, which has been relentlessly accused by the opposition of ignoring Muslim voters, is leaving no stone unturned to maintain its way in Uttar Pradesh, till the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Buoyed by the party's performance in SP bastions Azamgarh and Rampur, BJP is now eyeing Pasmanda Muslim community in the state. Pasmanda, which means left behind in Farsi. It accounts for around 75% of the total Muslim population in Uttar Pradesh. During the recently concluded National Executive meeting in Hyderabad, PM Modi had asked the UP BJP cadre to ramp up the outreach among the Pasmanda community for their social upliftment. Even Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh is learned to have taken feedback from the UP unit about the contribution of Pasmanda community in the Saffron Party's electoral performance since the 2014 Lok Sabha elections.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. What a day it has been. 2 arrests were made in Bihar and they seem to have blown off the cover of something much bigger. The big story that broke on Times Now, the plot that has been unearthed by agencies at the center in tandem with the Bihar police. The police yesterday made arrests in Phulwari Sharif, which they say has blown the cover off a massive plot. A plot to create trouble in Prime Minister Modi's rally in Bihar and to turn India into an Islamic state by 2047. Believe it or not, the police are now speaking of an elaborate plan within the next 25 years to bring Ghazwa-e-Hind into India, and the detailing of that is extremely meticulous.
इनका जो ये इंडिया विजन 2047 है टुवर्ड्स रूल ऑफ इस्लाम इन इंडिया, इंटरनल डॉक्यूमेंट नॉट फॉर सर्कुलेशन, ये बांटने के लिए नहीं है, ये लोग गुप्त रूप से इसको करते हैं। इसमें जो लाइन मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ हम लोग को मिलेगा सर, ये बढ़िया ना भाई। पॉपुलर फ्रंट ऑफ इंडिया इज कॉन्फिडेंट दैट इवन इफ 10% ऑफ द टोटल मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन रैली बिहाइंड इट, अगर पूरी मुस्लिम जनसंख्या का 10% भी PFI के साथ आ जाता है, PFI would subjugate the coward majority community. उसके बाद PFI जो बहुसंख्यक कमजोर और डरपोक समुदाय है उसको उनके घुटने पे लाएगी एंड ब्रिंग बैक द ग्लोरी, और इनको इस्लाम में दाखिल कराए। तो ये किसी भी धर्म के बहुत ही अगेंस्ट है, इसकी जितनी भी भरतशना।
Now, this entire module was being operated by these two men. Mohammad Jalaluddin, who shockingly has been a policeman himself, earlier employed by the Jharkhand police, he was now tasked with recruiting and training locals in Bihar for the Break India plot. Along with him was Athar Parvez. Athar Parvez was earlier a member of banned organization SIMI. After SIMI was made illegal, Athar joined the ranks of PFI. It is from these two men that documents and details have emerged showing what the entire conspiracy was. And in these documents, the 8-page dossier that the police say they have recovered, Mission 2047, is absolutely clear. India and Hindus are on target, and the man who must be taken out of the way is Narendra Modi. The PFI says clearly that their dream of 2047 is to get political power to Muslims and to bring in an Islamic government. The shocking part is where they say that the PFI will quote-unquote subjugate the coward majority and bring them to their knees, provided that at least 10% of the total Muslim population rally behind them. For this, the dossier says that Muslim youth will have to be motivated by reminding them that they work for Deen, or the cause of faith, subjugate majority, attack Modi, and establish rule of Islam. And thousands of such documents and PFI admission forms were found from the place raided in Bihar. Just goes to show how deep the entire conspiracy went. The suo motu FIR registered by the Patna police revealed that the arrested accused have been giving martial arts training and in fact arms training in the garb of martial arts for at least the last 15 days in Patna's Ahmed Palace. Meetings were also held at the same location for the past 2 months to carry out the conspiracy. But the shocking part is that despite all of this evidence, some continue to back and feign ignorance.
सर क्या मामला है?
मामला है कि ये अहमद पैलेस है और अहमद पैलेस से 2 आदमी को उठा कर ले गए हैं। एक तो किराएदार है और किराएदार के बारे में हम नहीं जानते क्या गतिविधि में है, लेकिन मैं मकान मालिक के बारे में दावे के साथ कह सकता हूं कि ईमानदार पुलिस फोर्स पदाधिकारी रहे हैं।
बात बताइए, जो थानेदार साहब हैं जलालुद्दीन, उनके बारे में बात ये सामने आ रही है कि वो ट्रेनिंग देने का काम करते थे और वेपन्स की ट्रेनिंग दी गई है यहाँ मार्शल आर्ट।
बजाबते देखिए पारदर्शी है, कितना ट्रेनिंग होगा नहीं होगी तो मैं नहीं, आप खुद देख लीजिए। जब ट्रेनिंग चलेगा तो यहाँ पर हजारों की भीड़ लगी रहेगी कि नहीं, बजाबते साइलेंटली रहेगा। बल्कि मैं कह रहा हूं कि उत्तर प्रदेश के तर्ज पर हल्द्वानी शरीफ को बदनाम करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। जलाल साहब अगर अपराधी हैं तो साक्ष्य प्रस्तुत करे, अन्यथा गोपाल रविदास यहां व्यापक जनता के लेकर रोड पर उतरेगा और चाहे लाठी चले गोली चले, हम उसकी पूरी तरह से शामिल।
This happened yesterday. Yesterday, they arrested 2 people claiming them to be Popular Front members, but we would like to make it clear, and we have also issued a stand that both of them who have been arrested are not Popular Front members. Secondly, we saw that the police came up with one press release, a press statement. In that press conference, he read out a document calling something called as India 20, some plan to make India an Islamic country. Actually, if you see, the same document first came up in UP in 2020. If the same document attached in the charge sheet of UP and the same document is now coming to the UP police, that means the author of the document is not Popular Front. Popular Front did not publish that document, but that document is somewhere published by somewhere in UP or the higher ups, and it is being transmission to every other states.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us on the debate, we have Majid Hydari, political analyst, Ahmad Ayaz, also political analyst, lawyer Zubair Memon. We have Rahul Ishwar, activist. My first question is to you, Shehzad Poonawalla, national spokesperson of the BJP, because the straight allegation is that this is your toolkit. It worked in Uttar Pradesh and now you're trying to replicate it in Bihar, and this convenient 8.8-page document or a dossier has suddenly emerged in order to demonize Muslims and PFI. Shehzad Poonawalla.
First of all, the PFI does not represent all Muslims, and I'm sure the PFI should not be called Popular Front of India, but it should be called People for Incitement. Recently, you'd remember, Padmaja, the Kerala High Court had indicted them saying that PFI and SDP are extremist organizations and they ought to be banned. The Kerala government did not ban them. That's another issue. Secondly, you would remember that in the TJ Joseph case, 13 of their Karyakartas were convicted. Is the court also fabricating it? You would remember that the Kerala police in the last few years has caught many of these people joining ISIS, making bombs or indulging in other anti-national activities. In fact, here's an article from Telangana. Indian Express has published 3 PFI activists were arrested just 1 week ago and charged with UAP in Telangana. Is that a pro-BJP or a pro-Hindutva government or an anti-Muslim government? So, you know, for the PFI to play this victimhood card. But it's not the PFI's real fault. Padmaja, it is the INC. What is the INC? Not Indian National Congress. Islamo-Nazi Caucus. This Islamo-Nazi caucus, the moment action is taken on PFI, you know the NIA has designated them as a terror group, you know that UP has demanded a ban on them, you know that Karnataka government is moving towards a ban on them, you know that other state governments are also doing that. The moment action is taken on them, ED or otherwise, there is a Islamo-Nazi caucus that stands up for them. For instance, you would remember the Kerala government, which once said on affidavit that this is nothing but an avatar of Simi, today patronizes these groups, does not ban them despite the court order.
No, the
today
reason
you
why
have
I said demonizing Muslims,
like Congress
here's
Party,
why. Because this is not just about the PFI. Just a second. The follow-up question is why I said demonizes Muslims is because this whole idea of Islamic State, that India will be turned into Islamic State by people being reminded of their Muslim identity, that they are working for Deen, seems to be talking about the community as a whole.
You see, Padmaja, we are a country which has secular values, and if we are supposed to be living by the constitution, why should we anybody advocate these principles that are not in conformity with the constitution. This entire idea that there should be an Islamic state is antithetical to the constitution. So first of all, this idea, or anybody who supports this, and this is how it begins, this idea of Tushtikaran ki Rajniti mein allowed, I think this is not any idea of empowerment of Muslims. This is actually trying to incite Muslims. And look, the problem is the people like, there's one MLA of CPI-ML whose bite you just showed.
Yeah.
You know, when action is taken, these people come out and start defending groups like PFI, and they say that they are being victimized.
So let me bring in Ahmed Ayaz.
Convicted activists of the PFI for hand chopping and for other anti-national activities.
Ahmed Ayaz, just a second. Here comes India 2047, says this dossier. 2047 is not a watershed in history, but it signifies the end of a century of independent India and beginning of a new one pregnant with changes. We dream of a 2047 where the political power returns to Muslim community. We have given ourselves a target of 2047 to bring about an Islamic government in this country. For victory, we don't need a majority. If 10% of Muslim population rally behind it, PFI would subjugate the coward majority community, bring them to their knees. What kind of a political mobilization is this? This is sheer weaponization of religion.
The first thing should come to the mind of everyone as to where from this idea has come and who is floating and spreading all this. What is the ethnicity about what is being said? You see, we know living in Kashmir, when militancy started in Kashmir, it was just limited to one state itself. And everybody, almost every Kashmiri from one corner to another knew what's happening in the Kashmir, because it was known something is happening. Now that if there is such a big plan that 2047 is supposed to be converted as an Islamic state, and possibly everyone in the country would have known it, it is nothing but to demonize Muslims and defame Muslims, and maybe some politics also involved, some people just to create a situation like this, trying to do something, because nowadays politics and vote bank politics is based on Islam, Hindu-Muslim divide and the hate. And I think this
so, sir,
is a part of that.
So, if you are saying it's to demonize Muslims, who are Muhammad Jalaluddin and Athar Parvez? Are you saying Muhammad Jalaluddin and Athar Parvez are also innocent, like Javed Pump is innocent, like Siddiq Kappan is innocent? They're all innocent people who are just being picked up by the police.
If anybody is to create a trouble, he can hire anybody to do anything. You see, there are Muslims who are said to be, you have not seen what has happened in recently in Dargah Sharif.
Okay.
And somebody, maybe he is a Muslim, but he was said to be he was a history cheater or a drunken, or likewise, can't a person be hired in the name of Islam, in the name of...
So I don't know how he has been hired, sir, because if he is indeed a drunkard and a history cheater, that the Dargah has to answer how he was employed there. You still haven't answered, but it seems to be the charge, Shehzad Poonawala, that you are printing these dossiers and then you are hiring Muhammad Jalaluddin and Athar Parvez in order to carry out propaganda against Ahmed Ayaz and ilk. Shehzad Poonawala.
Padmaja, if Mr. Ayaz would just indulge me for 30 seconds. Mr. Ayaz, please answer this, and today I want to ask you a question, not as a BJP spokesperson. Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, Afghanistan, Pakistan, all of these countries are in a mess. Are the Hindus to blame there also? Is there a BJP, RSS to blame there? या वहाँ पर भी कोई defame करने जा रहा है Muslims को? Please, sir, let's have an honest introspection. Today, India is what it is because we chose to make this country a secular country, and the Hindus of this country did not go down the path of Pakistan, make it a theological country. This is thanks to people like Padmaja and thanks to the Hindu community that this country is secular. Let us acknowledge this fact. And sir, please tell me, very honestly, when Yaqub Memon was convicted, you came out. अरे मुसलमान को डिमोनाइज किया जा रहा है. When Afzal was convicted, you said, you came out. मुसलमानों को डिमोनाइज किया जा रहा है, victimize किया जा रहा है. How come your role models are only Yaqub and Afzal? Why not APJ Abdul Kalam ever? Why not Hamid? Why not why not Aurangzeb who fought the terrorists? Why not other people who are fighting terrorists every day? This is the problem, sir. That you make heroes out of these elements. And then you say, "Hamara victimization ho raha hai." Introspect on this not as a political analyst, but introspect on this as an Indian tonight.
Zubair Memon, the PFI is no hero. And if you smirk at these kind of reports today, There were countries like Iran, there were countries like Afghanistan, which were fairly liberal, even Turkey. 50 years ago, 80 years ago, they would have been smirking at such a report. And look where Afghanistan is today, Zubair Mehmet.
Actually, we should not be interested. Where is Afghanistan today or where is Sri Lanka today? I am far more interested where is my India today.
So the reason why I brought it up is because the goal is the same. To get Islamic rule into the country. Afghanistan today runs by the Sharia, and the stated goal of this document is exactly that, to have Islamic rule by subjugating the majority in India. The road map is the same. Mr. Mehmet.
Nowadays some Hindutvawadis are comparing or saying Syria and Afghanistan. Some so-called liberals are comparing Modi ji and BJP government with Sri Lanka. I am not interested in any of that comparisons. The main objective point of the debate is about the document produced by the Bihar police. And in the starting of the program, the PFI official, somebody, I don't know his name or not, you only produced it, that they have clearly stated that they have nothing to do with these persons.
Obviously,
now
sir,
it's upon...
if somebody has been arrested, what do you expect the PFI to say? Yes. PFI obviously doesn't even own up to TJ Joseph's hand being hacked, despite the fact that people were convicted. What do you expect?
Let me speak for
Afzal Guru said till the time he was hanged that I am innocent.
Ma'am, you can counter me, but let me at least speak for 60 seconds uninterrupted. Then you can counter on each and every point.
Yes.
Now, as we know that PFI has clearly said it has no links with the persons. Now it's up to the Bihar police and the local law and administration to investigate the issue and let the world know. Instead of doing media trials and questioning some fake reports, we should wait for the local law and administration to do the investigations complete and let the world know
which is perfectly fine. The question though, sir, is when there is a haste to issue a clean chit. Like the CPI MLA of Phulwari Sharif, who we spoke to, he has said कि अरे इनके घर में तो शीशे लगे हुए हैं, ये आर्म्स ट्रेनिंग कैसे देते थे? तब सब लोग अगर आर्म्स ट्रेनिंग के लिए आते तो यहाँ भीड़ लग जाती. He is innocent and he is being victimized. Despite the fact that there is a clear roadmap, it is only the level of detail in this document which is very striking. What do you make of this? Where they say that we have a four stages have been identified to the entire progression towards Islamic rule. First, you establish an Islamic identity beyond the concept of being Indian. Second, spread the narrative. Say that you utilize concepts such as national flag, constitution and Ambedkar to shield the intention of establishing an Islamic rule. Reach out to SC, ST, OBCs. Third, form close alliances with SC, ST, OBCs. Win elections in as many seats as possible, and in the final stage become the undisputed leader and representative of the entire Muslim community. Can this be brushed aside, Rahul Ishwar, as mere figment of imagination and propaganda?
No.
Let Rahul Ishwar respond, then I'll come to you. Mr. Mehmet. Yes.
Leftist Chief Minister. No, I'm a right-leaning activist. Forget me.
Let me quote CPM very senior leader, perhaps the most senior leader, V.S. Achuthanandan, who was the Chief Minister of Kerala, who was receiving intelligence briefing every day. He told openly to the media that Popular Front of India wants to convert Kerala into an Islamic state in 20 to 25 years. Similar devious plans are there is a revelation that is told by a Kerala Chief Minister who is heading CPM. Please remember, forget Modi ji, forget left, forget Congress. This is told by a CPM leader. Second point, I am happy and I would like to tell Popular Front that you won't be able to win 10% of our Muslim community ever because they are so well integrated. But they will try. This is the brand of Islamism. They would like to inject and they would like to create a Hindu-Muslim divide. Then they would like to make the Brahmin and Dalit fight, the so-called forward caste and so-called backward caste fight, and trying to take them. See, this is a well-set agenda they have. We should counter. Beyond Hindu, Muslim or Christian, this is anti-Indian. This is anti-human. This is a well-set political agenda of Islamism to capture power. This has nothing to do with the holy Islamic
Mr. Memon is very amused
remember,
by your information, Rahul Ishwar.
Muslims and provoking Muslims because they want Muslims to be provoked against the Hindu community. We do have problems. There are some problems in India, but these people are misusing these problems.
And don't you find it problematic also, Mr. Memon, that this document speaks of how Muslims should be made to understand that they work for Deen and their identity is above that of an Indian. More than identity of an Indian, you have an Islamic identity, Mr. Memon.
Yes, the document which you read out is completely heinous and is completely absurd. As a Islamic person or a Muslim person, I would clearly like to state it that Islam doesn't teach this. Second thing, Islam is the one religion and the only religion who has given religious identity to all the persons.
Sir,
Instead,
if I can
the
just
freedom of
interject
speech,
for 10 seconds, this is exactly what we were told when there were cries of Sir Tan se Juda, and within weeks there was actual murder of 2 people. So it doesn't really matter what you preach in an ideal world, but radicals are not going by what you are saying. People who are radicalized are going by what is being told to them.
Ma'am, when you mention Udaipur, complete the statement that the culprits were from the BJP.
Anyway, please move on. We've done that debate ad nauseum. We can keep going on and on about this. Please come to the point.
We have to move. Yes. I would like to clearly say, Islam is the religion which has given freedom of religion and freedom of speech to the world which we are practicing today. These types of documents are never produced by any Muslim or Islamic one. At least I am thinking that this document seems to me like a WhatsApp forward from a Hindutva-wadi to propagate, see what Muslims are doing and how they are planning against us.
Okay, now just a quick response and I want to bring in Majid Hydri. Okay, this is a WhatsApp document. 2 people who've been arrested with flags, forms, documents in their house. They are also apparently planted by the BJP. The conspiracy that is being spoken of, I suppose even that is a plant of the BJP, and people who've actually been killed and attacked by the PFI are also plants of the BJP.
Yes.
So, Zubairji, just one submission to you. You know, I accept and respect that you are distancing from it and no Muslim should fall for it. At the same point of time, let us not forget that there has been many members from Kerala, India and many parts who joined ISIS. There is a serious issue of Islamist radicalism that we shouldn't overlook. There are problems in Hindu community too. There are problems in every community. But there is a strand of Islamist radicalism that we cannot overlook because this has global ramification. There is an international ISIS. There is an international Al-Qaeda. We may have our own apasi jagda. We will fight it out. But at the end of the day, we are Indians. At the end of the day, we are people living in our motherland. But when they are connecting to the global Islamist or and international Wahhabi movements, it becomes laden with terror. It becomes laden with much serious ramifications, and it will cause further division between our people.
I wonder what Mr. Memon will say to that, because he keeps saying that it only teaches you peace, and yet there are people who go into radical organizations, go into terrorist organizations, go into ISIS. What ideology are they guided by? I do not know. But what does it say, Shehzad Poonawala, that the same people who are talking about this ideology, who are putting out this roadmap for 2047, are simultaneously also planning an attack purportedly on the Prime Minister? Is he the person who is their biggest challenge or their biggest roadblock?
You see, Padmaja, even the Patna blast that took place in 2013, it was a plot of such a nature only. And at that time also, you remember how there were certain people who laughed it off. There was an urban Naxal threat, which was Rahul Gandhi called those people voice of dissent. And this is also another plot. But having said that, I believe there is Zubair Memon and there is Majid Hydri both on your panel. Let me ask them only a couple of questions because they've spoken quite eloquently, at least Zubair Memon has. Zubair Memon, since you said something about freedom of religion and peace, taking that argument forward, I suspect that you would go and say that you accept the Karnataka High Court verdict on hijab and the Supreme Court verdict on triple talaq. And secondly, I want to ask Mr. Majid Hydri that just one question will clarify what Majid Hydri, what thought process he has. Majid Hydri, do you consider APJ Abdul Kalam, the best president of India, to be a role model for Muslims, or do you consider Burhan Wani to be a role model for Muslims? Let them both answer this question. One question each.
Shehzad bhai, wah, naya Bharat, naya Sansad, naya emblem, lambe lambe dand, badhiya hai, what I need to praise you, badhiya hai, badhiya hai. लंबे लंबे डांस है, नया एम्बलम है, नया देश है, नया संसद है. I'll only appreciate you for all what you are doing. Are you happy now? Now can I speak over the issue?
Answer his
question. Do I have the right to speak over the issue? Yes, Padmaja Sahiba, we have no issues with the saffron mission of Hindu Rashtra, but we have every issue with the figment of imagination of a Muslim Rashtra. 8 pages of screenplay from theatre of absurd become Bihar.
He can't
police
choose
dossier.
APJ Abdul Kalam over Burhan Wani. He is the dossier of hate. He is the dossier of hate.
I fail to understand, are we here to discuss the witch hunt of the Muslims, or are we here to discuss something like APJ Abdul Kalam or Aurangzeb Mughal Emperor? I fail to understand, why are you on the show then? Now let me get a chance. We don't have even representation in the Jumbo cabinet, our union cabinet. Now let me
shows your mindset that it's not an automatic choice that APJ Abdul Kalam is a role model, not Burhan Wani.
Shahzad Saab, we are helpless. Please give us an opportunity to express our views on Times Now at least. We have nowhere to speak. We don't have representation.
Who is your role model? APJ Abdul Kalam or Burhan Wani?
See, let me get a chance to speak on the topic. We are discussing that we are being pushed to witch hunt. Now let me clarify.
Who is your role model?
And let Shahzad Bhai also listen. Shahzad Saab, please listen. Abdul Hamid Havaldar gave the supreme sacrifice for the country. And in Indian Army, we don't have any Muslim regiment. We don't have a single war cry of the Muslims in our Indian Army. We have been fighting, we have been giving us blood and sweat for the country, but we don't have representation even in the cabinet.
Sir, why are you dragging in the army into all of this? Majid Hydari, please stick to the plot.
Instead of
please stick to the point.
You are trying to witch hunt us.
What has this got to do with a witch hunt? Are you saying arrests are being made as a witch hunt? Are you saying evidence is being planted as a witch hunt? Are you saying that people who've actually been convicted for murder, and as Rahul Ishwar mentioned, it is not just the BJP, but it is the CPM, it is governments of non-BJP states who have also asked for ban on the PFI? Then what witch hunt are we talking about? If you're really talking about a witch hunt, let me actually read to you from the last part, where it says, just a second, if you're talking about a witch hunt, there's a very interesting part of this, which says, it is imperative to collect and keep ready detailed information about the personal details of Hindu RSS leaders and locations of their offices before the stage of the final showdown comes. So here you have people literally being marked out, and the PFI is saying keep a track of all Hindu and RSS leaders because there will be a final showdown. You need to know where their houses are, you need to know where their offices are. Who's being witch hunted?
Now kindly let a helpless man get 30 seconds on the show.
Go on.
The dossier says that they were learning self-defense. Is martial arts self-defense an act of terror? If it is so, then Bruce Lee was the biggest terrorist. Jackie Chan is the living legend of terrorism. I mean, what kind of dossier is this? Why shouldn't every Muslim be well skilled in martial arts? I request every Indian Muslim to learn martial arts. What is wrong in that?
That is great. There's nothing wrong in martial arts, except it also says that a stockpiling of weapons should happen at stage 3 of the entire process. I'm sure you do not think that Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee are sitting there with stockpiles of weapons.
See, that is the bias. My Hindu brothers go for Shastra Puja. My Bajrangi brothers go for weapon puja, and even they go for arms training. There is nothing wrong if that is done by the saffron forces, but there's everything wrong if the same is done by the helpless Muslims.
Okay, Shahzad Poonawala, quick rebuttal. Shahzad Poonawala.
You know, Padmaja, I've heard this ad nauseum. He would even call Ajmal Kasab somebody acting in self-defense. But I have only one question to expose Mr. Majid Hydari. Majid Hydari, Afzal Guru, do you consider him to be a terrorist?
Should our Ashoka pillar lions have long teeth, long fangs? Why? Why should it be so? Why? I too have questions. I have questions.
अब इनसे आप सर्टिफिकेट लोगे कौन विक्टिमाइज है?
Our legacy, our heritage, you are destroying everything.
Okay. I think it is fairly safe to say at this point we are not going to get answers to any of those questions. But the idea was just to put out the facts. Now this is what the police says they have in terms of evidence. To prove it in court though is going to be key. There are many charges that are made. How many of them actually stand scrutiny in court will be imperative to show. whether this is actual justice, actual conspiracy being called out, or as three panelists suggest, a witch hunt. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Over the last few days, it's been an outrage per day. First, the unveiling of the national symbol atop our parliament, and now what should be said or not said inside the parliament itself. So here is what today's fresh controversy is about. The Lok Sabha Secretariat issued a booklet of words that have been deemed unparliamentary in the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislatures in the year 2021. By the way, they also contain words and expressions that are disallowed in Commonwealth parliaments in the year 2020. The purpose of this list is that there should be a ready reckoner of words that could be problematic. But that is the purpose. Here is the effect it has had. First was the argument that MPs are being censored. Second, that certain words have been banned. Third is that this is a list drawn up by the government. And fourth is that the words identified herein by the government are words that are critical of the Modi Sarkar.
आज आप आज़ादी आने से आज तक में किसी भी असेंबली ने या लोकसभा या राज्यसभा के हमारे जो अनपार्लियामेंट्री वर्ड्स में जुमलेजीवी, जुमलेबाज, वो कभी भी अनपार्लियामेंट्री नहीं हुआ है। भ्रष्ट कभी भी अनपार्लियामेंट्री नहीं हुआ है। आप झूठ बोल रहे हो, आप नौटंकी कर रहे हो।
So they know these are the very adjectives which are absolutely admissible for Bharatiya Janata Party, and knowing this fully well, they are trying to do this censorship. But let me tell you the fact, they cannot throttle the opposition voice like by doing this.
मैं कहूंगा पार्लियामेंट में खड़े होकर कि मैं देश के प्रधानमंत्री और उनकी सरकार पर फूल फेंक कर मारूंगा, क्योंकि देश के युवाओं का मुकद्दर बेरोजगारी बना दिया। तो क्या फूल को अनपार्लियामेंट्री बना देंगे आप? कंटेक्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट है।
But here is the unfortunate truth. Each one of these arguments is flawed. First of all, the government does not get to decide what is to be expunged or not. It is the prerogative of the head of the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha and state assemblies. Second, there is no new list that has been issued for the upcoming monsoon session. In fact, this list is a compilation of terms that have already been expunged in 2020 and 2021. Also, if the Modi government was to choose which words it doesn't like and ban them, then what explains the words in this very list that have been expunged by the assemblies of Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan and Punjab, where incidentally the Congress is in government? Were these assemblies also engaging in censorship? And finally, and I never thought I would actually say this, but it's important today to tell you the difference between the words ban and expunge. The two are very different concepts. Ban means that you cannot use a word at all. It means that the word is illegal, unusable, and you possibly can be prosecuted for using it. Here is what expunge means. It means that you can continue the same word, all you like. It's just that when you are inside the house, these words will be marked for removal by the speaker. They will not be a part of parliamentary record. Then why is there this storm in a teacup? Or is this another way to project how India has turned into a dictatorship, where now the government is restricting not just the citizen, but also the right of speech of members of parliament?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Hirat Poonawalla continues with us. So we have senior leader of RJD, Syed Faisal Ali, Professor Manojit Mandal, spokesperson of Trinamool Congress. My first question is to you, National Spokesperson Samajwadi Party, Ghanshyam Tiwari. Why do you think this is a ban, sir?
Good evening, Padmaja, to you, the viewers, and my fellow co-panelists. I think time has come in India where BJP starts believing that everybody, including media, a section of media already does it, but everybody, including members of parliament, especially from opposition and the entire nation, should treat Modi ji as Bhagwan, as God, and his cabinet ministers as Devi Devta, and no word that says that they betrayed the youth by promising 2 crore jobs. They fooled the people by saying, "Do अच्छे दिन आएंगे, black money 100 दिन में आ जाएगा, everybody will get 15 lakh." Allow me to complete. There is no rush.
Let me know. Are you going to make this Twitter clip for 30 seconds or 1 minute? Because then we'll come to the point. Because the point is, why do you say there's a ban?
No, I'm saying the way I see this. I think that BJP wants the future generation of the country and the current generation of the country to believe that Modi is a god who has done nothing wrong. It is by mistake that so many people died when post-lockdown was put. It was by chance that WHO says that 47 lakh people
so you
died
do know
because of mismanagement.
That some of the words in here are from Quebec, are from New South Wales, are from British Columbia, are from Australia. Unless these countries also love Modi ji and they do not want you to use the words, where is the concept of Modi coming in this?
I want to say in the parliament, the parliament represents the voice of the people.
So you say what you want inside parliament. It's just that if these are expunged words, they'll be removed. आपको जुमला जीवी बोलना है, आप कल जाइए जब parliament खुलेगी 4 दिन में, और आप बोलते रहिए जुमला जीवी.
We have already seen the quality of hate speeches that BJP creates on television channels. They lead the complete destruction of
Ghanshyam ji, there is a very simple point. I'll make it much easier. The thing is that it wouldn't have reached this point if instead of just going by WhatsApp forwards, people had actually just accessed this report, this actual report, and gone to its opening page, which has a preface. You know what the preface says? It says, from time to time, some words and expressions are declared unparliamentary by the chair in different legislative bodies in India. Such words and expressions are also declared unparliamentary in Commonwealth parliaments, not even in India. Not even nothing to do with Modi.
I can listen
it's in
to
Australia.
Debate as
it's
an
in
audience.
Canada.
I don't have
now,
to be. I don't
let me
have
read
to
out to you, sir. Just a second. Now why are you heckling me? The present compilation contains references to words and expressions declared unparliamentary in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and state legislatures in 2021 and those disallowed in Commonwealth parliaments in 2020. That is it. That's it. It's already words that have been expunged. It's already words which Om Birla ji has said कि इसको record में नहीं रखेंगे and somebody made a list and said ये लीजिए. That's it.
Can I say something?
Yes,
I heard
please
your point of view. Allow me to say 2 sentences, 3 sentences, you can interject. The people on the street believe that Modi ji and his government fooled the people, betrayed the people on employment, continue to fool the people, betray the people on economy, and continue to fool the people and betray the people on the idea of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas. I want the members of parliament to stand up and tell this, that आपने धोखा दिया है लोगों को, आपने घड़ियाली आंसू बहाए हैं, this government must be ashamed. If the members of parliament cannot represent this point of view, which is on the street.
That's the whole point. आप अभी टीवी पे बोल रहे हैं, आप लोकसभा में भी जाके बोल सकते हैं, कोई नहीं रोकेगा, बस रिकॉर्ड पे नहीं आएगा. That's it.
क्यों नहीं आएगा? मोदी
आपको रिकॉर्ड में चाहिए.
आपको या मीडिया चैनल्स को मोदी भगवान लगते हैं, हमें नहीं लगते.
अरे सर, आप मीडिया चैनल पर बैठ के घड़ियाली आंसू बोल रहे हैं और आप कह रहे हैं सेंसरशिप हो रही है.
आप चाहते हैं कि future generations treat Modi as God. We don't want to treat Modi as God.
So that is the point, Shahzad Poonawala. Not only does Ghanshyam Tiwari want to say Jumla Jivi in the year 2022, but he wants it to be in Parliament record. That in when 2092, somebody is going through the Parliament record, they say, oh, Jumla Jivi, I see. That is the problem. Why don't you want it to be in the record? Shahzad Poonawala.
Padmaja, first of all, drinking and driving and facts and Samajwadi Party both don't mix. And that we've seen adequately with the kind of response they've got in the 2022 polls. In fact, they used Jumla Jivi right now in the last 2 by-polls also in Azamgarh and Rampur, and both places they got rejected. So by all means, go around saying it. Now let me clarify to you, Padmaja, because before joining the BJP as a spokesperson, I also served in Parliament as the OSD of the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs at a brief period of time. Every year, Parliament comes up with a list of expunged words. It's a compilation of words that are expunged various houses in Commonwealth countries and also our assemblies. No government gets to decide that. The speaker or the chair of that house, for the context he feels relevant, expunges a particular phrase, and that is merely compiled. That too doesn't mean that this is a permanent ban and an automatic ban. For instance, if tomorrow Ghanshyam was to get up in Parliament and say, let's take the example of the word asaksham. He goes and says that ब्रिटिशर्स ने कहा भारतीय असक्षम है, ये अमान्य है. This would not be expunged. But yes, if Ghanshyam was to go and say, probably, that भारत की सेना असक्षम है, ये भारत की सेना traitor है, then maybe that would get expunged. So the context will decide. There is no automatic expunsion merely because these are an expunged set of words either, first of all. Secondly, my dear friend Ghanshyam, the word bhrashtachar has been expunged by the Rajasthan Assembly. The word corruption was expunged in 1966 when it was not our government. The word dishonest, dishonesty, cheating, chori, loot, ayogya, all of them have been expunged before 2014. So if you are leveling this allegation on us, by your same yardstick, a government you supported was actually the beginner or the harbinger of all this. But that is not the case. The third thing I would advise my dear friend Ghanshyam Tiwari is that, just last point, Ghanshyam.
Okay.
Can I just complete my last point, Ghanshyam? घनश्याम जी भर कर गालियां दीजिए, जी भर कर एलिगेशन लगाइए, सोशल मीडिया, मीडिया, पार्लियामेंट, पर कम से कम पार्लियामेंट के सेशन को हॉस्टेज मत ठहराइए. जिस प्रकार से आपका बिहेवियर रहता है पार्लियामेंट में, द वे यू होल्ड द हाउस हॉस्टेज, please don't allow the house to fall hostage to your petty politics. Allow the house to run and use whatever phrases you want. Yes, if the context demands it, it will be expunged by the house, not by us.
BJP treats present India as a trash can from history. That everything that has happened in 1966 is happening in Quebec should be brought and should be enforced, and we should treat it as the new normal. India is not a trash can from history.
I have quoted only Indian arguments.
I did not interrupt.
I have not.
It has no bearing of what happened in 1966. Right now, if this government engages in corruption,
I have not said Quebec.
I did not
I have
interrupt.
quoted only
Please,
Indian Parliament.
This is exactly the behavior that BJP promotes, and then it starts coming up with moral lectures.
But don't misquote me.
No, please. I did not interrupt you. I heard you. Allow me to complete.
Ghanshyam Tiwari,
don't
misquote.
Mr. Tiwari, answer the point about what has been said in the assemblies of Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Punjab. Answer those points. Are they also, beholden to Mr. Modi, and they don't want certain words to be said inside?
So Mr. Modi brings GST. It was an idea of Congress. Every time BJP takes a step, it blames others. Why can't it stand on its own strength and say it is our idea? We want
that
this.
Makes no sense.
Don't hide. Please don't.
You started out by saying that Modi ji is censoring people because he wants to be treated like God. Now I'm asking you a simple question.
If
we use your idea of censorship, why is the Rajasthan Assembly censoring? Why is the Andhra Assembly censoring?
Why should any censoring is wrong? If you are discussing Andhra debate, we'll discuss it.
There is no censorship. That's the whole point, sir. There is no censorship. You can still say these words.
No, wait a second. See, I understand that a section of media treats him as demigod. But if the members of parliament call this government as a betrayer of people's trust, it should go on parliament record. This is not, if Times Now records its videos and places in public domain, the parliament records are in public domain of the country forever. So if the government is called out for its cheating of common man of India, be it on employment, be it on black money, be it on corruption, it must be in parliamentary record.
Okay, let me bring in, there are two gentlemen waiting very patiently, Professor Manojit Mandal and Syed Faisal Ali. Professor Manojit Mandal, here is an interesting fact, that in 2012, just a second Shahzad Poonawala, in 2012, would you believe it, that in the list of expunged words was the word honesty, but then democracy was thriving at that point. However, let me explain the context. You know why in 2012 the word honesty was expunged? Because the sentence used was, honesty is nowhere near the mark as far as these gentlemen sitting opposite me are concerned. The word backdoor, bad, betray, better half, changing sarees, conspiracy, false, fraud, illogical, obsolete, joker, liar, misleading, mockery, sycophants, foreign money, joke, shy, giggle was expunged in 2012. Now what? Why was 2012 government anti-laughter? Why are they expunging giggling?
What kind of logic is this?
This is the logic.
What kind of logic is this? Let me speak now. You are banning certain words which are part of legal system.
Okay. Again, let me get back that graphic which explains the difference between ban and expunge.
Forget about the graphics.
Carrying a gun onto an aircraft is banned.
Don't teach me.
If I say on air certain words
any meaning,
that I will carry a gun onto an aircraft, They might be expunged from social media. That is the difference. There is no ban. They will be expunged.
So that means the words which are results of the parliamentary debate, like sexual harassment, there is a law in place called Prevention of Sexual Harassment. If someone uses inside the parliament, will be expunged.
Depends on the
criminal,
context.
Corrupt.
Depends on the
part
context.
Of legal parlance.
The context is, sir, that
Why
you
should
can
there
be
depend
part
on the
of a
context? Why should
debate.
there?
You do know that the parliament passed the Nirbhaya law where sexual harassment was used at least 1 lakh times. However, if you are an MP and another MP says that Mr. Mandal, you have committed sexual harassment, that might be expunged. It's the context. If I am standing in parliament and saying that sexual harassment must be stopped, so we need to bring in a stronger Nirbhaya law, that is fine. But if somebody accuses another MP of sexual harassment, it might be expunged.
In protest against your misconduct, I'm using the word very politely, and in protest against gagging me on TV, I'll remain silent for the next part of the debate. I'm sorry.
Sir, you haven't been gagged. You just spoke and said that I will remain quiet. A gag is when I stop you from speaking. When you stop speaking, it's known as a Maun Vrat. That's not gagging.
Look at yourself. You did not even allow me to complete a single sentence.
Go on,
You're
sir.
So scared
now that you have broken your Maun Vrat, go on. Finish your point.
Of this dictatorial government. No. Again, look at this. You are so scared of the opposition because you are playing the goebbels of this dictatorial government. You don't even allow your panelists to complete a single sentence. That's habitual for you, I tell you. I've been watching this as a party spokesperson. You are insulting the opposition, insulting the party. That's been done on your channel by you. Don't even allow us to complete a single sentence. Look at what the government can do. You are trying to make a fine distinction assiduously made of this banning and expunging. If
there
a parliamentarian makes a word which is part of the legal system,
it is as fine a distinction as the Panama Canal.
That means it is
there
banned.
There are two different words.
Again, I'm telling you.
It is not a fine distinction, sir.
You are scared because you are playing the goebbels of this government.
Sir, you
means the media like you are playing the goebbels, and you are extremely scared of the opposition.
Well,
and I
thank you. See, the great thing about democracy is that people can claim to be gagged while making unfounded allegations about everyone. But I want to still dwell on facts.
1.5 years back for Bengal, you did the same thing.
You still haven't answered why were these words then stopped in 2012. Anyway, Shahzad Poonawalla wants to quickly make a response. Nothing personal against Professor Manojit Mandal, please. Just factual point if you want to make. 10 seconds, Shahzad Poonawalla, because I really must bring in Syed Faisal Ali.
No, nothing personal.
I have made the factual point.
Okay, you made factual point, that's lovely. Shahzad Poonawalla.
For instance, Padmaja, if I may.
Because you are a self-shooting...
Padmaja, let's assume, Padmaja, if I may. Padmaja, can we move up beyond this personalized name calling of the anchor, please? It doesn't suit us. We are responsible spokespersons. So Padmaja, let's assume that if this was indeed a banned list, in 1966 the word corrupt was allegedly banned because it was in this list. Has the word corrupt not been used in Houses of Parliament after it appeared in this banned list? This is not a banned list, my dear friend Manojit. You can use whatever words you want, sexual harassment to corrupt to whatever GV you want to use. If a particular context you use in, if the chair feels that that context is derogatory to the reputation of Parliament or House, then it will be expunged after the consensus of the House. But let me give you another example. There is one word which is in the banned list, apparently, Padmaja, Bal Buddhi. Do you think we would ever ban that word? किसको apply करता है भाई? हम अपना नुकसान थोड़ी करेंगे. So on a serious note, this is not a banned word list. This is a list of expunged words. It does not mean automatically all words which are used will be expunged. It means that the context becomes a reference that if a certain future context matches that context, it can become expunged, but it is not a compulsory rule. Monojit, please, you're smarter than this. I know you come from a party which said, about which was said, not rule of law, law of the ruler. So you have the last right to lecture others about democracy. High Court said about you, not rule of law, but law of the ruler.
Okay, let me bring in please Syed Faisal Ali also. Here are a couple of words which have caused a lot of heartburn this time, that why can't we say chori and loot? And people actually said कि देखो ये government चोरी भी कर रही है, loot भी कर रही है, इसीलिए the list isn't expunged. Correct? Chori and loot, Syed Faisal Ali?
See, there is no doubt that these words have been will be expunged and not banned. But the problem is that by putting these words under the category of expunged word, you are giving a greater discretion to the speaker. A speaker discretion will decide whether my speech or the speech of an honorable member will go in the record of the proceeding or not. That is the thing. And this is not the first time that
Constitution. Now we are going to rewrite the discretion of the speaker.
Added to the list. But why this time this much of hue and cry? Because no one believes or trusts this government.
But the government doesn't take the call, sir. The speaker takes the call.
The intention of the government is doubtful.
But
and
the speaker takes the call. That is why this much of hue and cry is happening this time. Just tell me one thing. I cite you one example. When Annadurai was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, let me finish. When Annadurai was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Kamraj brought a no confidence motion against him. And on the floor of the House, Kamraj said, Mr. Annadurai, your days are numbered. He didn't react. He said, yes, my days are numbered, but my steps are measured. So these type of sarcasm, these type of statements make the debate lively. You please tell Meesa Bharti ji to say the same thing when the session starts.
Word after word.
Nothing stops her.
Then the debate will become very monotonous.
Nothing stops you from saying this even now. You can say it inside the Bihar Assembly if you want.
Will become very monotonous.
And just by the way, because I'm being told that I'm completely out of time, let me tell you that this whole brouhaha that has happened over words like chori and loot, here is some food for thought. The chair had expunged the words chori and loot for the first time in the Lok Sabha debate on the 13th of March 2012, and the first time that the word jhoot was expunged was on the 27th of April in 2012. So that's as far the entire issue on censorship and Modi government banning your freedom of expression is concerned. Anyhow, the great thing is that the parliament session is about to begin. Here is that booklet. Urge anyone who wants to exercise their freedom of speech to go ahead and use all of these words liberally. They'll just be expunged. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, for joining me.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Shankar.
The News Hour at 10.
Gauhar Chishti, the man who gave Sartan Se Juda slogans outside Ajmer Dargah on 17th of June, has been arrested. 27 days since his provocations, Gauhar Chishti was nabbed in Hyderabad and will be brought to Ajmer for further questioning. Security of former Aam Aadmi Party leader Kumar Vishwas has been upgraded to Y+ category following recent threat assessment. In February this year, he was granted Y security. After taking charge of AIADMK, EPS has sacked 2 sons of political rival OPS and 16 other leaders. OPS was himself removed from the party few days ago amidst tussle for control of the party. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin has been hospitalized in Chennai 2 days after he tested positive for COVID-19. He was admitted for investigation and observation for COVID-related symptoms. Embattled Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain's wife, Poonam Jain, is unlikely to appear before the Enforcement Directorate for questioning. She has cited medical grounds and sought more time. The minister is under the scanner over a money laundering case.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
இந்த லட்சணத்துல ஆராசா வந்து கேட்கிறாரு, மகள் தனி நாடு கேட்போம். அது தனி ஆளா தான் நின்று கேட்கிறாரு. ஆராசாக்குள்ள ஆசை நயினார் நாகேந்திரன் மட்டும் இல்ல.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Defamation case filed by Kirit Somaiya, Sanjay Rawat today appeared before Sewri Court. Court has asked Rawat to appear again on 18th of July. Alt News co-founder Mohammad Zubair has been sent to 14-day judicial custody after he appeared before the Hathras court. 2 cases have been registered against him in the district in 2018. Former Vice President Muhammad Hamid Ansari has refuted BJP's allegation that he shared confidential information about India with Pakistani journalist Nusrat Mirza. BJP had earlier cited media reports to allege the same. 15 people have been rescued by SDRF team in Bhandara district in Maharashtra. They were stuck in a temple due to flood-like situation. Deepak Kesarkar, a key member of the Shinde-led faction of Shiv Sena, has claimed that NCP President Sharad Pawar was behind the earlier splits in the party. He also sought to know what Sharad Pawar has gained by causing pain to Bal Thackeray.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them, I delve deep into the